So it's early in the morning. Joe gets here. The wing is in silver. Oh, man. Yeah, that looks nice. That is absolutely nice.
How's your cold?
I still got it. It's dragging on.
I still have remnants of mine. And this is
Joe, it's dragging on. I'm telling you, I can't shake it.
But it might take 6 weeks or.
Yeah, well, it's been a rough winter.
Flight season starts or something. But
now you could take those shells and just put them up on your fuse and see if they, well, they got to be the same.
Yeah, that's the thing. Let's see how close everything is.
You got your cowl. You just got to sand the bottom on your cowl. Let's see how close they are.
Well,
yeah,
the guy that built the fuselage.
That's not that bad, huh? Man, if that doesn't float your boat, I don't know what will. And they're heavy too.
And then that, and then your tail cover.
Well, the last piece I didn't use. I used a block, you know, just.
Well, didn't you use a double laminate back here?
Oh yeah. No, what I'm saying is, you could if you wanted to. That's what was my original plan, was just to make a block. But I had the piece, so. Yeah, that's
on the DVD.
That's going to look nice. This clearance up here is.
It's like the old.
A couple of swipes of paper and you're done.
My nose ring come out. I mean, this is.
Yeah.
That's right now, but I didn't get into too much until you get all the blocks.
And hold the spinner up on that. Hold the spinner so you can get the look. And see how that's going to look. And you get your O-drive things, your valve covers and up on it. Oh yeah, that's nice. Yeah. That's nice, Joe. You know, I'm just thinking too, I think we got it right on the money with the width of the body.
Oh, absolutely.
I think that was a good decision, not going 3-inch.
Spinner.
It's either a big mouse or, oh, it's Karen! Hey!
Hey, good morning. You have to excuse me for getting you out of bed so
early. Oh, no problem at all.
How you doing?
How you feeling?
Well, you're going to probably get my cold now, too.
I didn't get you on the lips, so I'm not going to get it.
We're all getting a cold.
We're all getting it.
You've been sick for a couple weeks, huh?
More than that. We're all sick.
I'm not sick. I had 4.5 ones that weren't too good, and it's just today.
The objective today is to have a cup of coffee and then get the wing and the body. I'll strip the table down here. Get the wing and the body if we can. Get the bulkheads made up. Everything else is right on schedule here, right on. But that nose piece couldn't be better, Joe. You got that Perfecta Mundro.
I like that cowling, ½ ounce.
½ ounce.
And of course, engine fits perfectly.
Oh yeah, just the right amount. Yep. No, it's close. And you got the wing right at the weight you want it at. Because when you start making a wing and all of a sudden it's 3 ounces lighter than the lightest one you ever made, I start wondering about it. You know, what's coming out? The bell crank or the gear? Yeah, that's nice.
Okay.
Now Midgley's got the mold done already, like I said, but it hasn't created the canopies yet. So, but see, this is what I thought's important. When you put this all together, you can put my rudder on it even and see. This angle is perfect. You know how a Spitfire comes back. It isn't like a Nobler in the back.
That's why doing this version is high back.
But this is what's different about this one. Look at the other one. See, the other one is a lot more like a Nobler. It doesn't taper enough. This one tapers right down.
And the ones in '96 were compromised.
Well,
they worked very well. This will look better.
This has the taper that I like. I think that taper is going to look real good. Let's have coffee.
Okay. But if you got rockets on it and bombs, it almost has to be a military version.
Yeah, no. The G-Fire won't have rockets and bombs on it. Anyway, step one is we're going to, when I'm trying to document this, clean the table off. I already scraped it. We're going to lay the fuselage on the table upside down on one of these lines, and then we're going to make sure we have it perfectly straight and then cut out the bottom. And we don't need the cowl for now, but first thing what we're going to do, Joe, is I already have the front bulkheads made up. I want to line up the fuse on any one of these lines. It doesn't matter which line. We'll just tack glue it in place with a couple drops of CA. What we're trying to do is I'm going to try to line. Now I can't line this up. This is a straight glass table. It's pretty level because the blind nuts do sit down, so you can see they catch on that. So we need to be just off of this, just enough for the blind nuts And I like to try to line it up on one of these lines, but it doesn't matter which one. It's not a big deal breaker here which one it is. And just put a couple of drops of CA, maybe 2 or 3 drops on each side. And all that does is hold it to the table while we're going to remove this little lower section that we're going to drop the wing into. And then we have to start forming up the take apart features for the back and for the handle that are going to hold it down. Okay, we're glued to the table now at the back, and Joe had a good idea, by the way, which I hadn't thought of yet. We glued this to the inside motor mounts in here so that the glue is now on the inside instead of on the outside. That was a good little a thought. Now the next thing is we want to really, right off of these lines, we could transpose these lines out to the outside, make it easier, get a brand new blade. And now normally when you have a one-piece plane, you try to cut this on an angle so that you get a big glue surface. We want the opposite. We'd like to have like a 90-degree cut. There'll be 4 90-degree cuts. Now we used a 30-degree angle. Joe had a good idea too of gluing a razor blade to a block to make it 90 degrees, but you can use that as your template too, and a brand new blade. Now luckily I marked which bulkhead went with which piece, even though they're probably interchangeable. Before we cut, we want to put the other bulkhead in. Joe's got the long wrench to attach that bulkhead in place. That one's already been made when we made the fuselages. We have to make the ones at the back after we cut that piece out, but this is giving us a little guide for exactly where we want to make that cut.
How snug to make these?
Just hand tight. Because once the wing is lined up and that's glued in, then the next step is going to be...
When that wing goes in, that won't dig in, the bolt exposure or whatever.
That won't be a problem right now. I like to use 90 degrees, 30 degrees, just because it's convenient when I have the triangle on there. And I can reference that off the table, so you hope that, in theory at least, they're both pretty equal. And Joe's got a block. He's holding a block, and I've been cutting with the razor just to try to keep it that we have a 90-degree cut, and we'll try to do that, of course, on all 4 sides. It can't hurt. I mean, I don't know if this is...
You're better off, you know, making it working out.
Well, this worked out great. Well, you worked at Boeing. That's cheating.
Well, yeah. I'm also keeping my fingers the hell out of the way of the blade, too.
Keep away. There you go. Okay, clean as a whistle. Whoa, you're the man.
Yeah, that worked out good. That's good.
We got these pieces, and Joe only lost 1 fingertip. Now, we saved these, of course, as a pattern. But what I think is going to happen when we make the bottom piece, you're going to want to put like a piece across the top so you can round it off. You know what I mean? In other words, we got to make a little bit of a plywood bulkhead or something up here, light ply. I have to figure that out yet. But we're going to want to thicken it across the top so that when you carve the cowling in, that curve can go right across the bottom. So let's just, for right now, put these in the Joe, I'm taking you home pieces.
Okay.
First wing fit, rough fit. You want to fly Jackabone's way or your way? Don't pull a Jackabone on me. Let's see how close we got it. Usually you got to cut some away for the horn. And you still can see the center line up front.
I didn't bring my glasses. Damn. But it looks like there's a little bit of...
You got to cut a little bit of material away, yeah. Okay, but we knew that was going to happen. That's par for the course.
Other than that, until he drops down, you don't know what kind of fit.
Right.
Actually.
Okay, let's just drop this down now.
Monado,
I looked at Kaz's, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty neat, and you improved on that, but...
Well, here, we just made, and this is just to verify, we got a center line, the long center line that's going to tell us that our flaps are straight, and the way to check that you have a good gauge, flip it, and then just turn it around, and if you're still right on center and parallel, Head gauge should be good, and we'll use this, of course, when I go to do my wing diffuse. Okay, so now that bulkhead is bolted in. We have a center line. We have the center line on the wing that we took off the dowels. If you remember, we put dowels in the front of the wing. You can still see them. And here's your center here, and Joe transposed the center line of that wing. So now we got a lot of center lines to work off. And we're just going to be doing our grinding and sanding until we get them lined up. All right, it looks like we got a little bit of material to take off the back, and that should drop right down. It looks like it's going to be pretty, both sides are equal too. And you're right on center inside the wing? Mm-hmm. Okay. Now it's just like a sheetrock fit. Each time you go to put this in, it's going to be bumping on something, and we got to find what it's bumping on.
Not bumping on anything now, Bubba.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's pretty damn straight right there.
That's pretty close, especially considering you got a dihedral brake in this. Now what we auto, we're low by, I'm going to guess, 1/8 of an inch, but we're low in the front. We're low everywhere by 1/8 of an inch. So what it means is we got to move the center line, because it won't matter where the center line is. It only matters. In other words, the choices are you can build up.
The center line would be to the center line of the wing. In other words, the center of the wing's higher. The dihedral, this thing drops down.
Yeah, you're cutting material off this way. What we did, we had to take a little bit of material off the front because we weren't getting the front of the wing touching the bulkhead. And obviously what we want to do is get a tight fit up in the front as the first step. The back it's easier to shim the back than to do anything else. And remember, we're not using this cutout to do anything. It's the two bulkhead alignments that we're looking at.
Okay, I'm not clear. Do we want the center line of the wing to be on the center line that's on the fuse? Oh, that can't be right.
Right, here's where we can use as a double check. Joe has a balsa wood gauge, but when we're done, we're going to double check with our John Pothier. Total precision to within 1/1000th of an inch gauge. This slides up and down. And all we're looking for is get the wing parallel to the table. Same height, front and back. And then we'll double check it with our gauge.
Okay.
Okay, now Joe put a
stand there
little...
by that roll of tape. You're going to have to flip that up to me. So roll this in.
And you've got your center line now marked on a piece of tape.
Tight up against the bulkhead. Everything's racked forward.
Yeah, you absolutely need number one, that's touching the bulkhead. Because we got to build that.
Well, is that touching the bulkhead enough?
Let's see. Yeah, oh, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay, now I've got that.
And here's your no-go gauge. And it's that center line. We're just going to have to move the center line, and I'm guessing 1/8 of an inch.
But we want to match the center line of the wing.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter what it is, as long as it's parallel to the table. The table's giving us a mirror image of the datum line.
Yeah, as luck would have it, I'm drawing my... See, I can roll this thing. I can put it anywhere I want, but that's not what we want to do. Okay. Okay. Now we just, wherever that wing is right now, we just want to reference off the original center line.
Right. And we're going to have to go down about 1/8 of an inch. I think it's going to go down 1/8 of an inch.
More than 1/8.
More than 1/8? Okay.
But, I see my center line is right on for the trailing edge.
And how about the leading edge?
And the leading edge, for the leading edge of the wing. Down a 1/16 or 32nd. So
okay, now you can rotate the wing just slightly, ever so slightly. As long as you're hard on the front.
Yeah, well, by rotating...
See, you can just shim the back, Joe. You can just put a shim in the back is fine. Because we're not trying to connect. In other words, figure what we're doing.
All right, in other words, that's what I ought to do.
We're only connecting to the bulkhead. I don't care about that cutout right now at all.
But we'll shim the back.
Shim the back. Get the front level, and then we'll shim the back, and then what we'll do is we'll just put a tack up front here to hold that in place so that doesn't keep wiggling around.
Okay, I need a... gotta transfer these. Do you have a combination square at all? Or is this what you use?
And it looks like what we're just going to have to do here is just move the center line. And Joe's calculating
Maybe I'm
out.
trying to be too precise with this, but I know how.
No.
I know how important that wing level parallel to your motor mounts. That's where it all starts. Right
That's
there.
if it's we know the motor mounts are parallel to the table, and if this is parallel to that, you got 90% of your problem solved.
So without bouncing anything out of the way. Oh. What happened there? It moved. You moved. Or something happened. Okay. Is that where we want it?
Okay, we have our new center line, which is the green line. Center line there, center line here. We're not really worried about the line on the table right now for obvious reasons. And what we're going to do is just tack this front bulkhead in place. Once the front bulkhead's in place, then we're going to just repeat this same thing at the back, and we're pretty close now. It looks like it's going to need a tiny shim. And we want to get it from the top down. We're on center. From here we're on center. This is why it's really nice if you have two guys. And we're the same amount. Our little center line here is the same amount. We're not referencing off of the hard line. This is going to need a tiny shim. How's that? Real close.
Well, it moved now. Because the wing probably rocked in the...
Well, we moved it when we lifted it up to put the shim in. We put a piece of thin balsa just to shim the wing up ever so slightly.
So by doing that, it's high.
Okay, but you could always press it down. It'll just squeeze the shim.
Is that what we want to do?
Yep, just press it with your finger.
But, see, to me it tells me the
Let
wing...
me see. Let me see where you're on.
It tells me the wing is crooked. It's not in the saddle right. And if I had my...
Okay, so on this side we want to go up. This side. You're low on this side. High on this side. So it means my shim's the one that's wrong. The one on my side's got to get squashed a little bit.
And then
The one on my side is the one that's wrong. I'm just pushing it with my bare hands. That's probably some of it. Okay.
and I'm happy.
Right on the money here. Right on the money here. And how about with this? I want to do something here for 1 second.
Center line on the spine with the center line of the horn is good right there.
Oh, that's right on.
Okay, and then just gotta look at the. That's good.
Perfect. Now, now don't touch a thing.
Nope.
Let's mix up some.
Don't breathe on it.
Okay. Miracle of miracles. All the center lines are lined up now. And again, just to clarify this, we're not looking for a tight fit on the wing like you would on a glue together plane. We're only looking for a good joint up on the bulkhead, a good joint in the back.
Don't breathe.
Okay, now don't
breathe on it.
Don't breathe on it. We're just going to tack it. Don't breathe on it, Joe. Now the reason we're not using anything other than thick CA is because we don't want to have a one-piece plane yet. And I've done that, you know. Some of that CA gets in between the bulkheads, bye. I'm just going to hit it with kicker. This is only a tack joint anyway. Okay, once that kicks, Then let's see if it's solid. Okay, if that glue dries, and it should be dry by now. I put the points on the top so you can't flip it over by mistake.
Happy, happy?
Happy, happy? How about in the back?
It's still, that one's down a tad, but...
How much is a tad? A thickness of a pen line? You could squash that shim.
Actually, what it's doing here is the leading edge lines up with the green line, and it doesn't, and it's got to come up.
It's got to come up. Okay, that's no problem. When we put the bulkheads in.
Just has to be picked up.
All right. The next thing we got to do is develop these two bulkhead shapes. We'll do that with a piece of paper or a piece of 16th balsa, because we're going to put the bulkheads in and then tack glue the wing to the back. You follow? Mm-hmm. Then when we take the wing out, these bulkheads are going to be attached to the wing, and if everything lines up, we'll put that center line on a table with a gauge. The new center line.
All right, you.
All right, let's.
You proceed and all.
We'll develop these bulkhead sizes. Okay, we just roughed out on a piece of 1/8 inch scrap roughly what that bulkhead's going to be. Now, on this, we want to use the inner line here, Joe. Let's cut that out. On the inner line, check that it's a good fit. We don't have to, and leave the line on.
Okay. How come it's not straight?
And whenever we make up the patterns, of course, we want to keep the pattern, and we want to leave the line on so that it's a press fit. And you could just sanding block it in till you get the size, but always start out a little bit big. I'd leave even a little more than that on. You know the blade?
Well, that blade. How's that for?
How's that pattern fitting?
Well, it's about as tight as I'd want to have it.
Okay. Now keep in mind, we can't have anything stick down below here. So what you can pretty much do when we do the real piece, we'll have to cut this, in other words, curve it back so you can get the wing in and out.
Right, in other words.
Yeah, well, you make it full size and just cut that back. Or you can do it this way, it really doesn't matter.
Or you could get it close.
Yeah.
So you have less trimming to do. In other words, if we made a piece of light ply like that, it would be good.
Exactly.
We just have to square that off.
What we'll do now is make 4 pieces of light ply like that.
That size, that same thing. Well, are you sure that your fuse, I don't know. Maybe mine's sprung or this or that happened?
No, they're exact.
Okay.
If you make 40, I'll go over and jigsaw them out. What's going to happen, we're eventually obviously going to have to fill this in with a piece of wood, but this angle's fine now. No, that's fine. 4 of these will do it. It's got to be trimmed to the top at the end. And once we get it all lined up, you know, we got to put the 2 bolts in.
So you want 4 pieces?
I want 4 pieces just like this.
Okay.
Trace them out and then I'll cut them on a jigsaw. Good thing you brought that light ply because I didn't have any. I can't believe I ran out of plywood. Actually, if you want it, you can make 6 of them because you're going to need 2 more for the handle, and make 6 altogether.
Right.
As long as we're not with.
Let's see if we got enough length on one piece here to make. We need like 3 inches. So.
May as well make all 6 at once. It's save time down the road.
3, 6, 9, 12. You know what? That's 24 inches long, so.
That's what's nice about having a fuselage is so similar.
Oh.
You don't have 2 sets of patterns for everything. 2 sets of molds and bucks and everything.
Double check. You know what? If I don't double check, you know what's going to happen?
Oh yeah, I know. Hey,
I'll end up just to make sure we got enough. I want to move this, slip this down.
Okay, you let me know and I'll put my hand on it.
Just a tad. Okay. So if we're a little on a, you know, if I got a 16th more.
I'd rather have a little extra.
Yeah, so we can trim it off in case some angle doesn't come out.
The first time I did it, I didn't account for the fact that you got to pull a wing up. So I didn't have enough draft angle on it. I got it all done, took the bolts out and tried to get the wing out. And I said, forget about it. I had to cut the bulkhead off.
This is where those Boeing guys would slash their fingers up. They'd use like thin, straight edge. The blade they're using, which would be like a utility knife, would jump up over the edge and they'd whack their finger. Then they cut a finger. They can't do any work for 3 weeks.
That's why when you go on a nail line,
we ended up with like T-bars, you know, with a structural, you know, sanding bar like this.
Right.
A straight edge with that.
Right.
So guess what? They can keep their fingers on that.
Oh, man.
And they still wouldn't use it.
Well, not everybody's Joe Adamusco master craftsman.
I think about slashing my fingers off.
I know a guy that slashed his leg cutting ribs in the car. Was that Spitfire ribs or what? Spitfire. I don't remember. That was pretty funny though. These Boeing guys, I don't know if you can trust them.
I'll tell you how funny it is. There's the, see that right there? That scar with the 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Those were doing Spitfire ribs.
It's funny now. I guess it wasn't funny when you're out in the parking lot bleeding to death.
Sitting in my car on my, you know, let's call it my lunch break or whatever, had like a 8-inch square piece of plywood on my leg, and I was cutting the ribs off.
Oh,
and guess what? It slipped. And I was too embarrassed to go to the plant dispensary.
You couldn't go to the plant.
So I went to a hospital, emergency room, and they ask you all these questions. You know, like, were you? Like they want to know if you're in a knife fight or how did this happen? Did your wife throw a dish or a something? No, I was. And then you try to tell them, look, I'm on my lunch hour. I'm in a hurry. I'm sitting in my car working on model airplanes.
Yeah, you're right. Oh yeah, then they get the net for you. Yeah. Put this guy away.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's funny.
To not be,
That's funny. You know, this is the kind of stuff that makes modeling challenging. Though you never can tell the world what you're really up to. Oh man.
That's edge. Plus, you lose that material in the kerf, and we were.
No, this is definitely a good way to do it. And they will be nice. Okay, and we got 5 spares. You actually made 1 extra one. Okay, now we need to get one real nice fit in there. Let's get one with a real nice fit. We'll find 2 that are real nice.
Yeah.
And once we get that, the one bulkhead can get glued in, then the other one, we're ready to rock and roll here.
Next phase is I want to.
Leave the line on. Great memories. Light a grindstone.
Well, better to be bigger because I know I'll just hit this. And
just hit it one more shot and you're all set.
And that's it.
And that last edge you want to have that it picks up a glue joint good too.
I may have to come back.
Yeah, leave it on to your... See, it's easier if Joe does it this way. Just one kiss of that sandpaper at a time. No substitute for a precision fit, that's for sure.
That's a key joint back there anyway.
This is one of the things really does have to be precision. Don't you just hate show-offs?
Just have to do the notch.
Okay.
And it should be...
You don't even have to do the notch.
Because, you know, I'm looking at that and I see that I know this has to come back.
Yeah, it has to go back up so you can get the wing out. It's got to go to where that is coming straight up. Right.
Well, you said it how you want it and all.
Right here is where I want it, right here. Get it perfectly parallel. Get it even. You actually can put this angle on here now.
Okay.
Just angle that up just a little bit.
That was the next thing.
Put like a 45-degree angle.
Well, we want that surface to come vertical.
Right. And then you can take this material off the top also. You can measure that, trim the top, so you can get a lot of this pattern making done.
Yeah. But see, that'll be an angle too. So if you cut low, guess what happens? Well, it's too short.
Maybe you do that with the sanding block, just one swipe at a time.
That's what I'm going to do here.
Because otherwise you can't get the wing out. It leaves a little tongue in there. And once you're ready, then we'll just give that a glue seam.
See, you're better at the hand stuff. I honestly, and then I got to make sure when I cut this top piece.
You got the angle real good there. That's real accurate. Now you just got to slice off that top.
Myself. The 64th.
I believe a 64th, and of course on the top,
Yeah,
it won't matter on the top. They're just going to be
why I'm gonna cut
block
this.
sanded in even with the body
I'm
when
going
it's
to cut
done.
this one first, and then it'll have to be an angle. Unless I was real cute and I could cut it on him, I'm not going to try that shit.
Yeah, and it's not a real glue joint, but it's close enough. Then just get that a flat surface. Now, because the next piece of the bulkhead has to attach to the wing.
What do you do to establish your clearance here?
Just sand it till it's flat. Harden it with thin CA, sand it again. When you're done here, getting all these fits and finishes is going to just take time, you know. Right now, just get them 90 degrees, square off at the top. Yeah, it's good
I
enough.
want to square this off?
Right.
All right, but the way I'm going to do is I'm going to put some masking tape on here so I'm not...
Well, you could let it go till you get the other bulkhead on there if you want.
And do two at the same time.
And do two at the same time, yeah.
Okay.
Just take the big sanding block and go right down the top there. That might be an easier way to do it.
Who lined that up? Huh?
That feels pretty good. Now we're going to ultimately make triangle, you know, maybe quarter-inch triangles to reinforce that. So,
Right.
and glue
So
it.
right now there's no need to, I don't have to cut any relief on or anything.
Nope, don't do anything.
Okay.
What you got there is fine. Now we just got to make up the other bulkhead that's going to attach to the wing. Now because Joe made all the bulkheads, he just made blanks actually from the pattern. The next one has to be allowing for the fuselage side, but it's got to be longer because we're going to try to get this shape in here and then put a balsa block in here so that this is attached to this. That's the ultimate goal. Now remember, this is not permanent. It's on just strong enough that we can take the wing out of the body with the two bulkheads on it. And then once it's out, we can put permanent, and we're happy with it, we can put permanent glue seams on it. And I think the hardest part of this is you know, even if you know, you look and see how it's done, the step-by-step is a big help. Okay, see now this piece is going to hit the horn. No? No, not really. No, you're fine. And it doesn't have to go down any lower than that because remember, the fuselage side is going to be in here, and then we're just going to fill this in with scrap.
Yeah, no, see that's what bugging me a little bit. This one has...
You could cut that little piece of tape is not in the way. You're not even going to get, don't even worry about the tape. In other words, what you need is this.
Well, the back of the, you know, what's this again?
This edge is the critical thing, is to get this edge and this edge even.
Yeah.
Okay? Because if this is too wide, your fuselage side is going to get too thin.
So I got to make sure that this bulkhead is
Right.
exactly...
It's the width that's critical here. The height up and down, not critical. We could fill that in with it. Well, in fact, we're going to have to fill it in with something. Just, yeah, that's the idea. So that when we glue the fuselage side on there, you don't have that it's way too thin or way too thick, either way.
I want that there. And then I want to make up a... They're going to take 1/8 of an inch off. So
Okay.
how complicated is that? This is 1/8.
Yeah, just that you could trace it right off that piece of that scrap.
I know what the objective is here.
Okay, but that's the whole thing. If you know the objective, it doesn't matter how you get there.
Even though these clearances here are irregular, that doesn't matter.
You know what I think about at times? Like, imagine if you were a doctor and you're teaching somebody how to do cardiac surgery or something. Now, what about that bulkhead? What about that rib down there? Do we want to leave that rib in? Cut it out. I'll bet it's no different with doctors, except the guy dies if they put the bulkhead in crooked. All right, the
It's not only-
clamp is holding your bulkhead
That's
in.
a funny looking piece of 1/8 inch. Okay. That's good. Okay, clamp's holding the bulkhead.
Okay, now you want to get the thing lined up, because now it's got to be lined up. Get the center line, and then we'll glue these 2 little triangles in that'll just hold it in alignment.
What do you mean?
All these are going to do is just be temporary little jigs to hold it in alignment.
What do you mean? Okay.
Trailing edge, because this is the last chance you're going to get to do this.
We need 2 blind mice here, huh?
Yeah. I got to go for another eye test. I bought glasses this summer that were for flying. I couldn't believe how bad that my eyes were.
Okay, so that's if I know that green,
Yep.
the green line is my.
Check it. Give it the all 4 points bulletin. I think you're safest. Give it all 4. Once you get all 4,
Then I gotta take something to shim jack that trailing edge.
Right.
Correct.
right, correct the moon drill.
What are we using? You got a little like that. I'm gonna need like maybe a 1/16. I could sand the tape.
No, we're not referencing anything off of this old
If I
center
didn't have
line.
my disc sander, I'd still be building ringmasters. Seriously.
Well, everybody works different though. Now we know up here we're right on the money to where the gauge is. Once Joe gets this established, we know this is permanently in, and then we're going to put these 2 triangles just tacked in place to hold the wing and hold this former in place while we fit up the little piece that's going to go in here. And a lot of times when this piece doesn't fit the way you want it to, you have to remake it or whatever, but we're going to see right now.
That's acceptable to me.
That looks good.
This side and hit the other side.
Right on that center line, baby. Yeah, the angle is going to have to change ever so slightly because you're dealing with the dihedral, and they'll be pigeon-toed out when you're done. And they're only going to be in there until we get the sides on. Once we get the sides on, you can pull them right out. So we can just, no matter how you want to do it, sanding block, or you want to do it over on
I'll do it on the sander.
Okay, just watch your fingertips. I took my my fingernail and cleaned it off already more than once. But that angle, now see, if that angle isn't right, Joe, what happens, you put this bulkhead in, and this is how I did the B25, and it worked nice. That was just really nice to do it that way. Nice tight fit.
A little bit more.
All right, don't
take it a little bit of time.
Doesn't matter how many times you got to do it. Just the idea is, if this angle is sloppy, this bulkhead doesn't want to conform to its shape the way we would like. And before we drill the holes, we know we have the centers on it, we know we're holding this in place, so everything here should be relatively solid.
That's nice. Let's see. Actually, that same angle for both pieces. It should do it.
And each one is different because of the dihedral angle, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Boy, when you think of how many things change with dihedral, it's 1,000 little adjustments.
This is a trick I picked up when you're holding a little piece of balsa wood and if your hands are dry.
That's what I usually get my
I just
spit on your hands.
spit on your fingertips.
Good idea. This is how I took the tip of my finger and ground it off. It got pinched in there. But you're a lot tougher than I am. So far, anyway. Up until the next trip to the hospital. Yeah, we should have a real good fit on there now. I'd put it right under the bolts. That'll just make that a no big problem. Now, but put a good amount of glue on them. We don't want them moving. You just grind them out, cut them out, it doesn't matter. Once the sides are on. But they will hold it in place. And that really gives you a lot of...
The sides aren't going on today, right?
Yeah, they're going on next.
Those pieces?
Yep, those pieces. They're going on next, baby. See, when you take this home now, this will be bulletproof. There's no way this cannot be lined up. You got... The only thing you can get crazy here is the line that lines up the flaps.
Thick CA?
Thick CA, yeah.
Full surface contact here?
Full surface. Full metal jacket. Full pail of laundry. Right, Karen? Oh my God. Karen cooked more cookies over this Christmas, Joe. I'm amazed I haven't gone and exploded.
You didn't eat any of them, did you?
Oh, on God is my witness, I'll never go hungry again. Every time I walk past the kitchen, I took a cookie. All right, you
should do. Okay.
Just give it a minute to kick out. I'll put a little, you don't even need a press. That's such a nice fit, you don't even need pressure on it. It's a pleasure working with somebody that's a precision-oriented person. Or some of the guys in the club, oh my God, when you're trying to coach them, oh my God. Give me a bandsaw, give me an axe, give me a chainsaw. Mike Kajeski finished this closet for the kids. Man, did he do a nice job. Oh my God.
I know.
Got them upside down.
I do?
That one's backwards. It doesn't matter. Oh, yeah, too late now.
Yeah.
Just put it back the way it was. It doesn't matter. I just thought, knowing that how precision you are, you would like to see them.
See, I'm not used to talking to anybody when I'm...
Well, I am, but I'm always talking to myself. Right? Karen knows.
You're pretty good at it.
A lot of times I congratulate myself, right? Karen, I look in the mirror, I say,
put things together.
look at this old...
Your head must be hurting because the ceiling's too low for you.
What I gotta always remember not to clip one of those hooks.
Oh yeah, he's got the hook. See these hooks? These hooks hold the Dremel tools up in place. One day Joe walked by, boing, out comes bleeding all over his eyes. Oh man.
All right, so I put it in backwards, but...
That's okay.
Doesn't matter.
That'll dry up. Let it dry, then we'll start fitting up the fuselage sides here. Actually, we'll put the sides on and we'll put the bolts in and you can pull this apart.
Can this come off?
Yeah, that can come off now. Now, except for the bolt holes, you got this pretty well knocked. I would cut these well on the inside because you know you cheated an 1/8 inch the other way. You know what I'm saying? Leave at least some of that on.
No, would it do any good to put a, let's just say take an 1/8 inch square stick and tack it on the top of this?
Would not be a bad idea. Exactly, would be a great idea, in fact.
So that, you can pull that out, but at least it won't...
Yeah. Let me get you a piece of 1/8 inch.
How are you going to know when it's straight?
You run a ruler right down the fuselage.
Yeah, but if I got a scab tacked on there.
Well, yeah, you're only going to have half of it. There's 2 pieces. This is not going to join in the middle. Your block is going to start disappearing there at the high point of the wing.
Oh, all right. So
actually,
okay, wait a minute. Just
in other words,
if I tack that stick on here,
right,
just to give me some rigidity, and I start hacking this out and get it to drop right in. And if I get it to drop in, I got this stick, it's going to come apart in the center. Okay?
Yeah.
I know what I'm doing.
In other words, all I care about here, Joe, if you envision this, we're going to glue that piece on here, this piece on here.
Right,
but there would be one advantage to having a stick on the top. You would get this, that they're not...
That's right.
So I think you're right.
Okay.
Let's get let me get a piece of wood. And we could use up some real rock hard, of which we have plenty in this shop.
Well, here, how about this? This is nice sea green.
No, let's go the whole length of the piece. Why fool around?
Okay.
Don't fool around.
All right.
I got plenty of scrap wood. That's one thing. Scrap and 12-pound wood is not in short supply. Just cut it up and we'll...
Yeah, my binoculars again.
You like wearing my glasses, huh?
If I didn't have them, I really couldn't see what.
One night I was watching TV with my close-up glasses. I couldn't understand why I was going half blind. Isn't it a bitch getting old?
What's the alternative?
Yeah, I know.
You know, we know it doesn't. You can't get young. That
Yeah,
doesn't
I've been
work.
trying though. There you go.
All right, so that ought to give me.
All right.
That's our edge. That ought to make it.
Yeah, that's
somewhat of a joint. You
that's-
want that to be 1/8 inch,
Yep.
3/16?
That's an excellent idea.
1/8 inch or 3/16?
It won't matter. Oh no, make it more than an inch. Make
inch?
it plenty. Make it plenty. What's the difference? You're going to cut it off anyway. In other words, it's going to just keep it straight from
Well, I don't
front
want
to
to
back.
waste any of your 12 pounds.
Oh, the waste. Though I can always get more, you know. 12-pound wood is not in short supply.
Oh, these crazy rulers, jeez. 1/10 of an inch. I need some English one, like 1/16. That's me.
You're not used to thinking metric,
All right,
huh?
so if I make it 1/2 inch, that would do, right? Or
Yes,
quarter.
1/2 inch would be fine. But that's a good idea. Now you
Yeah, make a little reinforcer.
right, right.
Okay.
And I never thought about the lineup thing, but that is a
It
good
would
thing.
help for this one.
For sure. Absolutely. But that's why, you know, two heads are better than one here. 2 tomatoes are better than one.
2 pair of glasses.
All right.
But I don't know anybody else in the world that I could be doing this stuff with. Seriously. The guys that build the Ringmasters, well, you know, that's not
Well,
challenge.
they're not challenged by it.
That's not, you're not challenged. That's the word I was looking for.
But if you're not challenged, it's okay. You know, you can buy an ARF, you can buy a whatever. But this really makes my blood get going in the morning. Karen knows it too. She knows this is all I think about day and night.
No, you could, if you were into stamp collecting, you could be
Oh,
thinking
yeah.
about that all the time.
Yeah.
But
Oh no,
I don't think people do stamps anymore because there's the postage machines and
I don't know.
the cost of making stamps.
Is more than the stamp, yeah.
So that's why it's not done.
Yeah,
All
it's
right,
like pennies. Okay, there you go, Chicky. Wow.
we want these to be equal lengths, right?
Yep, I think this is a good little thing. I hadn't even figured that we'd have to do that, but
I just think it would give you a better chance, at least me.
oh no, you're absolutely right. But that's why it's nice working with 2 guys. When you're working alone, it's like, you know, you don't, you got 3 times the work to work with 1 guy. I wanted to, Sean. Joe really came up with this idea, this reinforcement, because I would originally thinking we would do this in 2 parts. So we put this piece of scrap on, this is the original piece, just to make it that, again, that we get a nice alignment. We don't have these going off on a little cantilevered angle there.
When you
So
cut the wing hole out, it'll
Yeah.
still be a stiff part.
yeah. No, that's good. That's good upgrade. Leave a 16th on, and then we'll start fitting that up
Now,
over
I know
there.
you're better at this than I am, but you want me to do it.
You don't have to be better. This is gonna be a fit. You're not gonna cut a line and it's gonna fit. And it's the thing, if this piece, even if you destroyed it, we just cut a new piece at 1/8 inch. Because we got to cut this and we got to cut a piece of 16 plywood, but we got to have a pattern. We have this for the pattern first before we cut the plywood. And I got plenty of plywood, there's no problem with that.
Oh, what kind of ply are you talking about?
16 ply, so it's the same
16,
thickness
all right.
as the front. Now what's going to happen, that last little piece is going to chunk
Yeah.
away, but don't worry about it.
Maybe that's where we can
Yeah.
notch it or Dremel it out or something.
Yeah, we're not. I know this is not going to fit based on how far we moved the center line. It's going to be a lot of sheetrock and fit here. You want to zone us off for that, or?
No, I'd rather use that blade because you know what happens? It'll leave that big curve cut.
There you go. All right, let's see how to your lucky day.
I know that. We had a,
This is like when you spray silver. How's that gonna look, Joe?
I think that stiffener is going to help me here. Now
Yeah,
I need
you got it. No, you were hitting in the back here. Let's get this right. We got to cut that piece away for right now, and that'll let you drop down a little closer. I shot the silver on those elevators the other day, and the tail and everything. Oh, it looked so good until I shot the silver.
Should I sand this out with get the radius closer to where it ought to be?
Yeah, there should be in here. You remember Carl Wendt from the club?
Carl, what's his last name?
He was Wendt. He was older. I think he was older than us by 4 or 5 years, maybe. But he had a lot of money. Had a beautiful house and shop, nice wife, family, everything.
But he died or something?
But yeah, he died. But we'd go to his house and he'd show us his shop, and he had every tool you could buy at Home Depot. And I said, Carl, you got this beautiful shop. How come you never built, you know? And he would spend more time working on a shop than building planes. He eventually built some planes, but he was what I call too cute. Okay, ooh, you are, oh my God, Joe, you are
off.
No, you're perfect.
Well,
you're perfect.
Why do I have such a big gap in there?
Because you gotta cut that piece in the front down. It's that piece in the front that's killing you. Go slow because it looks like you're going to be real close here.
Well, I was expecting this to drop all the way down on the wing, but that's where the dihedral comes in. Because,
exactly.
Because your airfoil was...
Your airfoil is on an angle now, yeah. It's another one of those beautiful, why is it, dihedral.
All right, so we got to do the front a little bit to get that to come down even. All right, I'm following it so far.
Now don't fall on your sword yet. See, now, until we actually did the first one, I didn't realize how much off that center line was going to be because of the dihedral. Now think of, here's what happens. The dihedral bends that center line up into the wing.
You know what to do? Make a pattern of this, add it, and you know when you do the airfoil, the top is this,
right,
the bottom will be
right. Well, this is what we didn't know, though. I mean, sure.
Until you go through the process.
The second guy that crosses the Atlantic, he knows you only need to bring 3 jelly sandwiches, but the first guy, it's a problem. Do you know Sergei Belko from the Ukraine? He told us when he was here, he says he makes his plane in one piece and then cuts it apart. And I'm thinking, oh man, hope he's got some sharp razors.
Do we need this anymore?
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah, don't let that go.
Don't move that. All right, so that's close there.
Yeah, you're real close.
But how did that son of a bitch shift?
Maybe you hit the clamp?
Maybe.
And we get the holes drilled in the bulkheads now. I put a little drop of oil on both of the bolts. I don't want to take any chances. We're going to get CA down in there. Now we can bolt those 2 bulkheads together. Now Joe's fitting up these fuse sides, which we're going to use for patterns, and then we're going to make up new pieces. And it's because of the dihedral that this is now not exactly, we're off by about 1/8 of an inch here. Of course, we're off that way and this way too, and we got to make up for this. So we're just going to use this as a pattern and make up side, and then I can use that for a pattern too.
Oh, you probably do the same thing. I know what I got to do here, but then by the time you go to where your sanding thing is, you forget to come off the top or the bottom.
Yeah, that's why we call it the Senior Citizen Modeling Club. See, and when we make the pattern, we'll add this amount.
Yeah, to the top. But what I'm looking for right here is to get the...
All we care about is the airfoil right now, because that piece will get glued on.
And I know that I want my excess material to come off this hitch right there.
And we'll add plenty to the top, and when we're all done, just take the ruler and slice it off. So far, this is going better than I thought it would. I mean, I know you could massage these parts and add pieces to the top and stuff, but it's just easier once you have that airfoil shape, and then you only got to do it once. That piece fits both sides, right?
It should.
I mean, in theory, it should.
Okay. I think the pattern will be good. Then you gotta.
You're gonna have to massage each one with a little piece of sandpaper.
Okay.
And we cut the pattern, leave the line on, and we'll fine tune it.
Wendy, could I use your...
Now it always seems at this point in time you take a lot of time and get these fits right, but boy do you save in the end when you don't have to Bondo them all in. And I'm sure you've experienced the Bondo forever thing. Everything looks good until the day you go to put the silver on. Oh God.
Alright, now we'll see how
Now let's see how close you got this fit.
smart I was. And then, see, it's got a bend, you know, the front down tight. And if you think that that's a close enough fit to the airfoil,
I think that's perfect.
you might be able to get a little better in the front here.
Well, once you glue it on, it's going to get a lot tighter.
Yeah, but I mean, to get to, let me just make one.
Just estimate up here, you know, you're going to go maybe 3/8 of an inch bigger in the front, so you have that bar across the top.
And then we'll see how it'll fit both sides.
And if it fits both sides, just make 2 of them. We'll make the second one oversized, because the first one, in essence, should be pretty close.
Yeah. Now here's my, not that it's a problem. I'm going to remove the tape.
Okay.
Then I want to try to glue some kind of a piece of straight stick across there and hold it so that when you tack glue it, then when I got the pattern, it's not going to move like this and I'll get the exact airfoil shape. You're not following it?
I am, but it's not going to make any difference.
Well,
I think you're better off just gluing it and trimming it at the end.
yeah, but I want, well...
In other words, you're going to pre-stress this part a little bit, but it's not going to matter.
Not pre-stress it. I want to get it so that it holds the contour of the airfoil. Right now, if I was to cut a piece out of this, it can move. See?
Oh, you busted it.
Yeah, I cut a curved piece in there
I see.
to make it flexible right at the high point.
Okay, I see.
So I mean, okay, I didn't tell you I did that, but it.
You lied, in other words.
I lied.
Lying to Boeing.
So what's the best way of straightening this thing? Keeping it, you know, to have a nice straight pattern to do both sides.
All right, I got an idea. Here's what you do.
Here's my
Hold this thing in place. Put tape on both ends, and we'll glue another piece across the top. Since this is just a pattern.
What do you mean across?
Take another piece of 1/8 inch scrap and just glue it right over the top.
But we'll have to take this tape out of the center.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Just hold those pieces in place with tape,
Yes.
and we'll glue that piece because we're only using it for a pattern.
That's right.
Yeah, now we just put a piece of scrap on to keep, in other words, we pressed it down in both dimensions. Then put that little piece of scrap to hold it, and that should hold the wing contour perfect. Now, if it fits the other side, then I'll start to really respect you as a man, instead of just a great football player at Penn State.
Actually, it was. I wasn't a great football player. I was more or less what you'd call a blocking, tackling dummy. But
hey, look what's on TV, B-25s.
But I was captain of my high school football team.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, I was. Okay, so we're
the only claim to fame I have is the airport rat, trying to bum rides in Piper Cubs from people, and sneaking into Arthur Godfrey's DC-3.
Well, see, playing football in high school was one way to get the chicks.
Well, I was a chick magnet right from the get-go.
Even though you hung out at airports.
I could never understand why they didn't want to go watch the Piper Cubs land that night. This never dawned on me till it was too late. Okay, so you got a good pattern now, boy. So. I'm patternized. You're You're a pat. I'll get a piece of 8, and this one is just a 64th longer.
Yeah.
So make them both a 64th longer, and
both longer, and then
that'll work.
I'll know how to work them from there.
Yeah, that'll work great.
Okay. I get started with one, and if I need something in the future, well, then you get one.
No, yeah, one's plenty. Okay, now you're going to trace that right out. That's your go no go line.
Yeah, that's why I want my piece.
Okay.
Length of it to be. See if I can trim this back.
Make a sanding block out of Gorham's. That's a pretty good thing.
All I need is some.
Yeah, tear off some of that Bernie Trent sandpaper. That Testarossa jar is just the right diameter. Oh, look at this guy. Oh, he's fitting it up like a glove. Ooh, I'm so impressed.
Maybe I don't need that much.
Don't worry, sandpaper's cheap.
Could I use these right now?
Yeah, that's what they're for.
Okay.
Bernie Trent told me as long as the Ravens aren't winning games, he's going to keep sending me sandpaper. As soon as the Ravens win, forget the sandpaper.
Well, they're going to have a new coach.
Yeah, I know. Billick's gone.
And
That's a good way to put the paper on, too, by the way.
what's that?
No, I mean, the way you're doing it, that's good.
Well, that's as long as I won't spill your paint. Whoop, there's a little crinkle in there. That's enough.
Because you went it all the way to the end.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
know, the end has a reverse taper.
Well, that's good. Yeah.
All right,
What I
there you
wanna
go.
do is I wanna, it's almost like the perfect radius. And then by changing the angle of this, you,
Yeah, you can change the curve,
yeah.
just like building a fillet. The quality of the fits. I'm always impressed, Joey, the quality of your fits.
Well, that's because I got tired of doing it 5 times. Or I had a lot of practice.
I'll never forget that 96 Nats putting those 2 Spitfires out there, though. Oh, I relived that moment a lot.
That was pinnacle Pete for me, boy.
Your 15 minutes of fame in the Hall of Fame. That was
And
great.
then another thing that I felt pretty good about was went back to the Nats in 2006 or whenever it was.
Right,
Or
right.
2005
5 or 6.
with the same Spitfire.
Right.
And it was in the same row again.
Beautiful.
So I have no
Now,
problem.
the only problem is, how come we're not in the same row?
Oh, man.
See, if I could be what I was, the man I was in 1996.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong with this, but this is the way I'm going to do this. Now that I know that I've got a nice...
I am impressed. Don't worry. I know exactly what
nice
you're going to
snuggy
do.
fit
You
on-
copied this off a Windy video,
Well,
I'm sure.
I've been watching with the
Oh, I know what he's going to do. He's going to sneak in here with a pen and put the lines on. What a sneaky bastard. Midgley would be so unimpressed here.
Oh, hey, when I get...
Hey, Midgley's cooking those canopies up as we speak.
Yeah, now, am I going to have more than one, a spare or something?
Yep. I'll make sure.
Because, matter of fact, if 3 would be, because if I goof one up, you know what I'm saying?
No, we don't do that, Joe.
No?
If I could give you 5, I will. I'll split whatever,
whatever,
we get.
no, and
there aren't a lot of guys lining up to build a complex plane like
whatever
this.
the costs and time and all that shit, and I will do what, compensation-wise, whatever Dave needs there. That's not...
You know how Ducati decided to make this new motorcycle that they just came out with? They advertised it on the internet, and they said they're only going to make 3,000 of them. And on the end of the first week, they had orders for 9,000. So they said, we'll just raise the price.
Yeah, then we can...
And not one person canceled the order. I don't know what's going on there. There you go. Look at this guy. Now, I like a guy that's way ahead of me here. Put the line, but remember, you got when you do it this way, you got to leave the line on.
Absolutely.
These are the tricks of the trade here from
And I'm going to have to...
Juke and Jive, yeah, I know.
Little nib off down there.
Yeah, and leave a little extra on the back here. Don't think you're going to cheat the system here, because...
See, now, I didn't get a good line down
Yeah, that's gonna work fine.
And wouldn't you know, I come up a little.
Yeah, you're on it. Leave that line on plus another line.
I see. I'm a little shy there, but I can
leave the line and a line, and you'll be fine. Hey, that's nice. We could write poetry here. A line, and you're fine.
Maybe I ought to clean that out. How tight does all that have to be in there?
Not that tight. In fact, you got to allow clearance for the paint. So don't make it that it's a press fit. It's got to have the, ultimately the clearance for paint.
Yeah, but see, there's like a little.
Oh, a little. Okay, just get it out of there.
As long as we're close, I'll.
Glad my macro lens is working here.
Let's see, this one kind of broke off at an angle. Okay.
No, once you do this once, the second time you do it, you may come up with some little trick to make it faster. But on the other hand, if you have these patterns made ahead of time, wow, you're home free all. Now we usually don't have anything bad to say about Rich Oliver, but in the middle of doing this, Rich Oliver calls. Harron hands me the phone. We're talking to Rich Oliver, yabba dabba dabba dabba, and what did Joe do? He made 2 left fuselage sides.
I made sure I got the
You made me one anyway.
I got the X's on the right side, so you got a new
God.
board.
That's
your outboard.
Now I got a free fuselage side. Lucky me. Well, I guess there's a message. Never talk on a phone when you're doing high-tech stuff like this. How we doing here?
Good.
All right. You got the doubler on this one already.
Repeat the process.
All right. We're ready to start tacking this up, baby. Ooh, I'm excited about this. It's starting to come alive. Like Frankenstein, it's coming alive. Okay, that's the second one.
Second one.
Got that all.
Alright, now the doubler doesn't fit as good as the outer, but that's okay, right?
No, doesn't matter.
We can load that gap with some shims or something.
Nope, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Okay, so I'm ready for...
Ready to tack this on.
Yep.
You're right.
Now make sure that you, here's the template.
All right, I can save this in the box with the templates.
Where's the other one tonight?
I put the extra one in there, the one, the double.
All right. And
okay.
It may fit, whatever.
Right. Now what we want to do now is tack this in just solid enough that this is going to stay in place. And then we want to take the wing out of the fuselage and then do permanent glue seams. We don't have any chance that thin CA is going to work its way in there. So this is kind of just a tack it in job. With all this, check the center lines. This is out just a tad. That'll sand right in. We're ready, Joe. Whenever you're ready here, we can tack this up.
Okay.
All right. And what I want to do is, I don't want to use any more glue than we have to, until you get this out. You could figure that out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And even at this, sometimes you get a little bit. You give me the alignment.
Okay, that won't squeeze into that joint back there?
No, we hope not. We hope not.
That's okay. Gotcha.
Save for brass. And you got to use some kicker on this because I don't want to let it sit there. Don't worry about this right now. We're just looking for that.
Okay.
In fact, what we'll do is we'll just put one drop right here so this can't wiggle around. Drop there is fine. There you go. Just run that there. That's good. You got such a nice tight fit here, that's not even going to matter. Okay, that's in solid. That's in solid. Let's see if we do the same thing to this one.
Fine bead. Okay, so
Just, because I don't want it oozing out, and even at this, it's going to ooze out. And I'll probably do something backwards that you'll be impressed with.
yeah, you'll glue the whole damn thing together.
Don't laugh. You're laughing. It's a lot funnier when you're gluing somebody else's plane together than your own. All right, now just put that one drop right in the middle. There you go. Let that kick off, and then let's pull the wing out of the body before we get any. Just rub that around And the thick's not going to be a problem. The thick is not the problem. It's when you go to put thin on anything that you grind up.
Okay, now see, here's something that I'm kind of eyeballing the contour here. What I'd want to do is just to push that side out, put another drop right there.
Tell me where. You want to hold a straight edge on it or anything?
Well, yeah, because we're tacked. I just want to.
Yeah, no, that's the whole reason for
tacking. I don't want to have one, bow in like
But don't forget, you got this piece bowed. This is.
Yeah,
this
but we'll see how.
Okay, you just hold it straight edge.
Yeah, that would be.
That would make sense anyway. Okay, let me get. Okay, I think now eyeball that one up. See if you got this one. You do the same thing over there.
Just a scooch.
The tiniest.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just so that it's not drastically bowed one way or the other. Then.
Well, the only way you get yourself in trouble here is you put some thin CA here and glue it all together. Then we're really in trouble. Okay, that takes care of that. You should be straight. This is going to be dressed in. This is dressed in, and the top you can do with a ruler. Get your real good ruler going on that.
All right. So we're
okay,
ready
now
to...
before we take it apart, I just want to do this because this can't go out into where it can do us damage. I just want to do that so we don't have it as you're taking it apart. It busts up or something. Then we'll do with thin CA from the outside in. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And they'll match, they'll marry up, make a nice little fillet there. There you go. Don't you love that? Oh. The one thing that always kicks CA, if you ever have a problem and you really can't get to, touch it with your finger.
I know.
Human skin is the best kicker in the world. Just back them out. We may have gotten a little bit in here. I don't know yet. Joe's gonna back the bolts out here.
That's where that debonder would come in handy for that.
I got a debonder on my own. Look at that. It looks a lot like a hammer. I smell coffee brewing, baby.
I guess it's...
You know what's difficult about this? It looks so easy when it's done, and you look down.
No, well, this is a critical point. This alignment right here.
This one day today, no matter how tough it is, you got to tough it out. This you can't. There's no fudging here.
You know when you get them out of. Are they all this short?
Yes.
Yeah.
Except the back ones. I didn't cut the back ones yet. They're all aluminum screws. There you go, baby.
Take apart city.
All right, now. Now you can make all the solid joints up there. Let's do them with thin CA, of course, but never near this. Okay. This can get put back to. I can put the glue on the blind nuts now permanently. This can be all dressed off and block sanded out. You have no issues here at all. Well, that's gonna be nice. And this you want to make a triangle piece in here, of course. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Corner to corner.
Do you want
to fill it on the inside of this? Like
I'd make some, you know, especially up here. I'd make some kind of.
When I get rid of these, what I want a nice little fill, right. Or do I want an angle brace out of?
I'd want what you got there right up against. You know, but it's not critical. Whatever you think, you know. In other words, I'd make a piece, make another 1/8 inch piece here, and then when it's glued in, cut this one away.
1/8 inch of what? Ply?
No, balsa wood. Balsa wood. With the grain going in the other direction, then it absorbs the shock.
In here, then how do I?
Right.
What do I do to transition from here to this bulkhead?
And I'd put a piece in here too.
Well, of what? Balsa?
Scrap balsa, sure.
All right. If I took these two pieces out, put a little, you know, like a 3/8 or what, a platform in there.
Sure.
To connect these surfaces with that bulkhead, then put the gusset in the corner.
Right. Right.
Okay.
And
do I need anything else across here?
Nothing. I wouldn't put anything. You don't have the top block.
Well, see, you know, well, okay, for now, that's going to disappear to like 0 in the middle.
Yeah,
so I don't...
exactly. But when this is all done, if there's any spot where it's spongy, just put a former across.
Okay, well...
See, the reason I didn't worry about here with with a bell crank bolt is because there's going to be no fuselage. This is just going to be a block.
Right. That's why I made sure.
So you can't really.
Okay, so that's what I'll do. I'll put triangular material in here.
Yep.
Fill that gap. Fill it back to here.
Fill it back. Fill it with.
And then I'll just CA this down good. Then what I'll want to do is probably flatten off whatever that line's going to be, a straight line.
It's going to be flat.
That, then I'll see.
Even if it's less than flat, you can take the block and just put. It's a 3/8 block. In other words, here's the block here. When you put the 3/8 block on
Is that what you're
here,
going to go with, the block for the back?
3/8, yeah.
Not
3/8 and
molded?
hollow it out.
Okay.
And then this side is going to ultimately wind up on there.
But a little bit here.
But it's going to disappear in here. It's going to be a little bit like a Coke bottle when you're done with it. Well, depending on how much you radius it, you may be able to squeeze it in.
It's going to be.
But then right there is going to be that scoop, that radiator scoop or whatever it is. So we got to engineer that up yet.
That can wag. At least I got something on. Okay. I'll get my handle next. I could take care of this. I know I got my alignments.
Well, I'll work on this while you're making a handle. The handle is pretty self-explanatory. You want to make a bulkhead,
Gotta make two more bulkheads.
Make two more bulkheads.
The bulkhead have to be the same size as this.
Well,
Yeah.
similar anyway.
Okay.
You got enough plywood, right? Or no? I got plenty of plywood, just no light ply.
Well, what do I want to use? I'll use the.
No, use the plywood. I'll get you a piece of plywood.
Okay.
Now we made two. These are dummy. This is just for the handle to hold the fuselage. Dummy bulkheads. This is going to be just like this was for the Testarossa. I think for the Novanta. So that you can hold the fuselage while you're building the rest of the plane. I didn't have a ringmaster leading edge. Joe had this piece of scrap.
We're going to make one. It's going to be on a slight angle, but we can. I know what I want to do. You're videotaping me trying to think of what the
That's the whole idea, to make this the real world. Not
Oh, shit. Okay.
anybody can make bullshit videos. Making the real world ones is the one that's hard.
So I know that that's 1/8 of an inch.
Fake.
Scrap
There's
piece.
nothing around here that's fake. This is the real deal,
Let me have a
baby.
piece of that 1/8 inch. I'm probably getting carried away here, but
Oh, that's okay. You don't want to have a stress fit. You want to have a nice tight fit, but not a stress fit. You know,
so
you don't
what I'm
want
going to do is I'm going to flatten this out, then I'm going to take another 1/16 off there and drop
Yeah,
it. Or am I down far enough?
No, you're cool.
Or should that go all the way to the...
I'd take a 16th
Yeah,
off.
okay.
So as we're doing the final little touches on today, that was the big one. From that point on, this is all downhill. And of course, while we're doing this, all our silver, my silver's drying up, my elevators, tail pieces, that's all drying.
I've used the other kind of plane irons, you know, the
Yeah,
copper
yeah,
and shit.
yeah.
So I make
That one works pretty good.
Oh, damn right it does.
You know, and obviously this is a part that you tailor to your hand if you want to make a, you know, round this field. For some reason, a ringmaster leading edge, I just happen to have a piece exactly the right length. It was uncanny how that happened, and I've used it over and over again. You know, because the Testarossa and the other one, they have the same wing, so that you just put different bulkheads on each end, I guess, and that's all I had to do. I don't even remember. You know, I notice as time goes by, I remember less and less. I got to look back at the video and see what the hell I did. This was a pretty good day, though, baby.
Oh, yeah.
Except for Rich Oliver telling us we don't know anything about Rojet 90s. I mean, I don't know. Other than that, we'll teach him a lesson. He'll be sorry he said that. All right. And then once you glue that on and you got the handle, then we can pull that, we just break the glue joint off the table. We're done with that. The fuselage will stay in one piece. Okay, so as we get to the end of the day, we're having a little bull session, and got to cut these bolts down because otherwise these wind up chopping up your hand needlessly, so we can get rid of that. We could break this off the table now. We're done with that. You got the bucks for the top block. Now what I did, I just used the front part.
I know.
Obviously you figured that all out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
These I'll take, which one of them will come in handy on this, so that's good.
Here's the bucks for the fuselage. So, I mean, you got, now all the patterns are up on a table here. You got the pattern for the rudder, pattern for the linkage, for the Raby rudder linkage. All these I would take just for, because I don't need them.
Reference.
You got your cowl, which worked out fine.
Yep.
Stab, the hold down bolts, elevators, and a horn. Horn ready to roll. Okay, you can make a pattern of that if you want to have it so they're very close to being the same.
Well, it's hard to tell on a DVD what the dimensions are.
Okay.
So this way I know if I get it within 16th, I'm, it'll hold the thing together. And
well, it never hurts to have a pattern,
no.
The twin sisters.
That's it.
One has a wing, one has a top block. Which one is the winner here today? I don't know. Hey, I'm glad we had this day went by beautifully. I can't believe what a nice day this was. A lot of people don't enjoy working in groups, but I know you and I work pretty well together. Mark Wucher's top and bottom on that too is probably a good idea.
Yeah.
If you're going to try to reference that, if you're going to try to reference for whatever
I just
reason.
want to get it right, just a rough dimension.
Well, that's what's nice about having everything on DVD. If there's a part that isn't the same, I mean, these two sisters, other than, see, Joe did a little different on the cowl hold down bolts, but other than that, they're almost in the same dimension even.
Yeah, no. See, I didn't look at your video, see how you did that. I was thinking, okay, I knew what you gave me the dimensions. So originally I was just going to put these two hardwood blocks down there, and then I figured, you start to pull down on your cowling and you get it crink, just having this flat surface to work from made a difference.
Yeah.
This is okay.
Yeah, that'll work. That's
and
no
then when
problem.
I get done, after I get all my things from all,
yeah, first you got to carve the outside, and then you can go inside like a hollowing out a block. That'll be fine.
Minimize all that. Okay, so I've got this, and I know where.
And you got the bucks now. Let me get one other thing.
Check this out.
Yeah, but you got everything on DVDs. Here.
Last January this time, I was working on those two wings.
Really?
That's, yeah.
Is that when we started this, January?
It was in November when Richard was here.
Okay,
And
right,
we were
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the process started. So it's been over a year. And it was the end of January. By Groundhog Day, I had both those, wings roughed out.
Yeah, but they're twin sisters, baby.
Yeah, this is gonna
These are the sisters from hell. We already got the cowls made. That worked out nice, huh?
Absolutely. I had to.
Look at that needle valve hole right on the parting line.
That's
Even
right.
you're impressed with that, huh?
Except I had to use a little shim out in the front.
That's no
all
big
part
deal.
of
And you got the any little imperfect. You're gonna tissue it. Don't forget to tissue it.
Oh yeah.
Tissue it. You got all the patterns for this: elevators, rudders. The twin sisters are back in action. That's what we got to name these planes, the twin sisters.
Well, one thing I want to do though is I want to put a tribute on my plane.
Yeah, you got to give me the writing for that.
Lindsay, like I'll have Miss Lindsay on there.
Yeah.
Lindsay Downey or something. Even if it's like a little.
We'll get Rich Alva, make 2 little decals we can put somewhere.
Even if it's like in some nice script.
Could put them in anything you want.
When we get close to that, I'll get something.
Did you know that the Royal Air Force doesn't have captains and stuff like that? There's different designations. So I made you Captain Adamusco, and John Pothier said there is no
captain.
No captains. He's the water boy or something.
Okay.
Yeah, once you have the cowl on there, that's going to be nice.
I'm trying to put your cowl on it.
They should fit. What are you talking about? What kind of, put my cowl on it. Be a man.
Well,
and if the holes line up.
The pin doesn't.
Oh, the pin.
You in the wrong spot.
Mine is better than yours. What a day. What a day. Holy moly. Maybe Rich Oliver was right. We really don't know much about stun here. I don't know. Maybe he's right.
I'll be happy to do square loops with this one.
The last of the leaves for this year, and it's turned out to be a beautiful day. I bet those wild hogs are out there flying today. I don't trust them. That pile of leaves makes a nice little place to put the model.
That's right.
What a day this turned out to be. Holy mackerel.
Stay there and I'll put my bucks in here.
Okay, you got to get all that stuff. You want a blanket to borrow? Okay, you got all the stuff, got all the bucks, cowls. It's hard to believe we got all this done today. What a day. Holy mackerel. And such a nice day. I know those hogs are flying. I'm going to call him tonight. I'm sure Dave is doing a great job on those canopies as we speak. He's going to be down here in 2 weeks.
Okay.
He's coming with his wife. We're going to go see Wicked over in the city.
I said hello and
Yeah,
thank
yeah.
him, and
Coming
if there's
down with
something I
Sharon.
can do for him, like he's doing his canopy.
Oh my God, it turned out to be such a nice day. Now listen to this message. You think I'm kidding?
Mailbox 1.
You may think I'm
have
kidding.
1 new message. Monday, 2:22 p.m.
Hey, Wendy! Where the hell are you? How come you're not flying with us?
Listen to these
This
guys.
is Trump heaven.
Because I have work!
Well, you're missing a hell of a day.
Some people have to work,
What
Richard.
the hell are you doing? But it can't be more important than what we're doing.
I'm working!
Bye.
Listen to this guy. See, when you don't have a firm direction in life, you go flying all day like the wild hogs. But am I flying? No, I'm down in the shop working. Work, Rich. It's a four-letter word. Work. Well, I have 2 carbon fiber tanks to finish. I got silver to sand. I got tails to sand. I got drawings to finish, reissuing my drawings. I got top blocks to work on. This Jacobone, I'm telling you, these guys, they're out flying today, but where's Wendy? Working. I'm so proud of myself. Karen is so impressed that I'm not out flying. Anyway, we really did have a good day with Joe. But you know what? That's the price you pay when you want to have cool planes. You got to pay, baby. And we had a great day. Except for Jacobone's little message. Anyway, back to work here. I think the next step on this, reasonably, I'm going to sand off all the silver and go to the next coat. Now this filled up pretty well. Yeah, I guess it's pretty good, in fact. One more coat though, because there's a little dry spot up in the top. You can see the dry spot. But I don't mind, I'll sand the whole part down. This piece is dry and this piece is just plain dry. It needs another coat. And the elevators, that one elevator needs maybe 2 coats. It's still got a couple little spots in it that aren't just really nice. This one is okay. We'll do that off camera. I'm sick of recording sanding silver, probably as sick as you are of watching it. But the result is always the same. And it always works out well in the end. Except we don't get to go flying today. Even? Well, let's see what's in today's email. I can't wait. You know, we'll get some of that silver sanded out. So here's some photos today from Gerald Champ of how his cowl is working out on the P-47, PA-65. That looks pretty scale, very scale in fact. Now we're going to hopefully get a plug from him that we can mold a nice cowl for it. This is from a Pat Johnson design, by the way. Now I'm looking at, just thinking of something, you know, you have plenty of room in here for a muffler of some kind or some kind of header. That's some wide fuselage. That's way wider than the Spitfire is, in fact. Really is going to be a cool plane. Now, it'll be interesting to see how he develops the curve to get this to blend into the fuselage sides. I'm assuming it's Pat Johnson, it's with blocks. Very interesting construction on this plane. I'm glad Jared's sharing these pictures with us. There's somewhere down the road we may want to do a radial engine something. But again, this is not that different than the B-25 nose. That's nice. And we're going to do something similar to this when we do the... that's really nice. You've got the spine out of it now, and now it's just a question of developing that curve. Anyway, those are from Gerald Champ, and they are... That looks like it's going to be one hell of a project, Jer. And please keep us in a loop. And thanks for sharing. Now, Gerald Champ sent this, and this is the caption. Don't start 5-minute epoxy for 2 extra minutes. Well, I don't know if it's Gerald or he's got a bad... See, he needs a Ferrari watch. We'll have to get him a Ferrari watch. Maybe he's been breathing too much sawdust. Anyway, hey, we really appreciate being kept in a loop with this project. And here's the deal. When you have 5-minute epoxy, start for 7 minutes. Now I started sanding this, and there are, you can see pretty simply how many bad spots. This is the bad elevator. Now the other one is just a little bit dry. There's a little dry spot up there. I'm trying to show how to identify these. A little dry spot up there, and it could be that I was holding it there right to the last minute. Anyway, what my plan is here is to sand this all down tonight. It's already way too late to spray. You can see right here, we started out having a dry spot right there. And we still have a dry spot. It's a little bit dry over here. But what I'll do is I'll stay up tonight, get this all sanded out, because tomorrow we got to go get Karen's car taken care of. And so I'll get up early, get a coat sprayed on this. Once this is all sanded out, but this is, it just goes on and on and on. But when it's done, I keep saying it over and over again, when it's done, you've got that 7-ounce concourse win and finish, and it's worth every minute you spend. Well, it looks like we made a good move staying up last night to get this, oh, the sun is already up. Get this silver sanded. It should dry up beautifully today. We got a lot of little things I want to get done today, and being able to spray the silver early in the day is really going to be a big help. I mixed up another pint of silver and a pint of thinner here, and I'm just trying to make sure I got all the pigment, because I'm going to try from this point on putting thinner and thinner coats on. In fact, I'm hoping this might be, if not the last coat, one of the last coats. I want to get it on nice and thin. And here's the other thing too, when you get a day like today and you can take advantage of the weather, get a coat on early in the morning. After I have some of my other shop work done, I can maybe even get a coat on this afternoon. But the real shame is this time of year, when you get a break in the weather, you got to be able to use it like in a football game. You get a turnover, you got to get some points. Now I know the hogs are out, they're probably already flying already. I don't even have to wait for the message. But Karen and I have our commitment to walking. I have to do some work on a car today. Her car is falling apart. We're gonna have to get another car. And the biggest thing, and you know, as you can well imagine, the biggest thing is I like to get some paint drying, especially when it's silver. And we don't even have by this afternoon the heat won't even be on in the house. But even if I can put this out in the garage to dry for a while, it'll have that slow dry where it really lays down nice. And one of the areas I tried to fix, I had a little gouge back here, a little piece up here. So I want to pay, a little more attention to maybe just getting those right away, get a coat on those, a dry coat. Yeah, the little spot up here, and I forgot to sand it. I got to go down and sand that. Look at this, unbelievable. Now at this point in time, I'm really just looking for the tiniest of little mistakes. And even that little one, which I didn't see downstairs, I see there's one right here. So See, that's the whole objective of the silver. It lets you see these little errors. In fact, that's going to need some more work. But I'll get another coat on, and because of the weather here, I may even be able to get 2 coats on. I don't know. We'll find out. I'm always very aware of not wasting time, but spending it wisely. If I'm going to put in X amount of hours on a project, I'd like to get, you know, some efficiency anyway. Keep in mind, I'm trying to get on a lot thinner of a coat. Not the big, thick, drippy, drooly coat, just enough that I can see if there's any other mistakes. And you can bet I'm not going to be satisfied with this until I'm really not seeing any flaws in the silver in bright sunlight. And we got the sunlight today. Today is just perfect. Boy, what a day. Unbelievable. And in this part of the country, you really do get some of everything. Just looking, and again, you got to candle these parts. You got to look at them when the sun hits them. When the sun hits them, I can see a little spot right there. Where that's going to need just over there, right there. A little extra on the edges. Now, because I know I've covered little mistakes in here, it means for sure this coat will get sanded out. So I can even be a little more generous around the edges. Where if this looked like it would be the last coat, I would just want to get on a thin coat and be done with it. And within a few days we're going to have these parts done and we're going to start working on our wing. Yeah, that's looking good from every angle now. This is the one of our elevators that needs the most work. I can see that just by candling it, and I'm hoping you can see the candling part of this as the sun hits it. So this part we know we can put a little bit of extra material on. This definitely is going to get sanded again. And always, anytime you can, use the sun to your advantage just to do the candling. Always try to get a little extra on the edges. I know when Joe was here the other day, he was checking out all the edges on everything. One of our goals is to have nice, sharp edges, defined edges on all the surfaces. This is one spot I missed last time for some reason. Now for sure this part's getting resanded, so it's nice that we can get one coat on early in the morning. For sure we'll get another coat on this somewhere this afternoon. You'd be surprised how many people in the course of, I guess, sharing DVDs and whatever, pick up on how efficient it is to do this with the silver and how nice it is, how many choices it gives you. But the real beauty is that at the end of it, you haven't created a plane that's way overweight or going to be tail heavy or whatever. And boy, I can't tell you how many times I've tried, and I used Imron and many other things that I really thought, oh boy, is this going to be cool? And at the end, just always had that extra weight I always had to deal with. And that's a hard lesson to learn. That's something that just takes time. Now this is the bad spot up here. That's why I'm kind of looking at if I can get some extra material up there. Anytime there's a bad spot, extra material is always going to be your friend. All those edges and angles. Now we know up here, I know for sure that's going to get resanded out. And I'm not sure what that was. It looks like a big giant smudge that I had something on my glove or on my hand. But remember, what I'm doing here too is I'm working on other things where my hands get dirty in between working on this. Sometimes I don't get them perfectly clean, and boy, the parts don't lie. Now this is the good elevator. This is the one that doesn't have a lot of issues. So again, now the trick is get on thinnest coat practical, just in case there's no more repairs to do. We can use this either for the last coat or the next to last coat, in which case, you know, that's just a light sanding and then our really, really thin coat. And once these parts are in good silver, I'll be ready to start the wing. And it looks like we're coming up on that quickly. I don't think that elevator is going to need a lot more work. That one looks pretty good. Now, because it's so nice and warm, it's amazing out here. What I'm going to do is just the bad spots now. I want to give a little extra material to, because I know this is going to get sanded out. It's just the bad spots. You know what's funny about this too is at some point in time you really start to get fussy about this, and you get fussier and fussier and fussier, and you're never happy. Well, you've got to at some point in time figure out just how fussy you want to be. But I know Joe is going to be fussy, and we want these twin sisters to really shine when we put them down together. Now we may be able to come back to this later today. You just never know how this day is going to play out. It's one of those things. I got to work on this next batch of carbon fiber tanks. I want to get this, but you know what's good? Silver can be drying while I'm doing this, and manipulating things in your day so something is always drying always seems to work well for me. Or even while I'm walking on a track or working on a car or whatever, it's always nice to have something drying. Now in today's mail, Joe made a brand new fiberglass cowl for his Seafire. Just check this out. From the picture it looks like he used 2 or 4 ounce e-glass. Here it is in silver already. Why can't we work this fast in real life? Anyway, it's great that Joe and I now have this ability to share these pictures instantly. That looks great, Joe. Great. Anyway, I'm glad other people have been able to obviously replicate from these old molds, or using these techniques that I've been using and passing on, trying to pass on anyway. And that, by the way, is one of the things that's really a big help, is you can recreate a cowl. Say you decide to change the engine, you need to change the way the air flows through it or something. Pull out the mold and make another one. It's always nice. Now, also in today's mail, of course, from Rich Walbridge, our daily dose of Spitfires. Anyway, this one looks like an early model one, 4-bladed prop, of course. Pre-Griffin, it's got a Merlin engine. Malcolm hood, early squadron markings, early Mark rudder, and the mandatory roundels. That is the rudder shape that I love. Oh man, of all the Spitfire rudders, that's the one I love. Invasion stripes, squadron markings, Merlin engine. I think Joe likes that rudder too. And boy, we had a great visit. Wow, that was just unbelievable. It's amazing how a visit like that, I mean, we get into it and we're in our own private universe here. I mean, geez. Scotty could beam us up into Spitfire land. Anyway, this is one of the ones. 21 Victor is one of the ones I have pictures of hanging in my shop even. As far as I know, and I'm not sure, there are still a little around 50. It was 52 and I think 2 crashed. Somewhere around 50, and 2 of them have no war record. 2 of them are built from parts. So there was about 50 Spits, and I think there's about 100 Mustangs still around. Could be wrong though, I could be totally wrong about that. Now see, as soon as they went to the 5-bladed prop, look what's happens. Rudder gets bigger, more square footage. We've seen this guy before with the checkerboards. Obviously, as soon as you see those big blisters, Griffin powered. And of course, remember the British engines all turn backwards. They don't turn the way American engines do. They go the opposite way. Now that's, I know, you flood up a Griffin. Some of the Miss Ashley videos even have some of that on it, where they're sitting there with the fire extinguishers. I wonder what they did. I guess they burn the paint up off of the ogive there on a regular basis. Oh look, there's a Moosey right over there, right behind the Spit. There's a Moosey. Anyway, it is a true story. When we were at Duxford and we were looking at, maybe it wasn't Duxford, maybe it was one of the other museums that Elliot Scott took us to. There was an exhaust, one of these exhaust pipes was on the floor. And I went over and picked it up. The guy said I could pick it up, the curator. And I looked at it and he said, "Ah, those are everywhere." He said when they would fly back from a mission, sometime they'd have to go out into the field and find 4 or 5 of them in one day. Different ones, they'd crack or they'd fracture or break on the early ones. And they just bring them back into the hangar and weld them or wire them or whatever they were on the early ones. But anyway, I was hoping that he wouldn't be looking. I could stuff one in my pocket or something. Didn't happen though. But I know the guy down in Houston repeated that story to us about those being one of the vulnerable parts that they used to have trouble with during the war, that they'd come back from a mission and one exhaust pipe would be missing or 2 or whatever. Oh, and I love that color blue. That is 5-blade. That is the essence of the Spitfire right there. I'm still reflecting back on Joe's visit, and we really did have a good time. I mean, it was... And what happens is at the end of a session like that, you have such a feeling of accomplishment. And you really, it's what modeling to me is all about. And I'll tell you that, there's something that's what modeling's all about. Now, unusual here, squadron markings with the pointy rudder, 4-bladed prop, which seems to be It seems to be that when they run the four-bladed prop, that was the rudder shape of choice, but you never can tell. So many variations, and I really don't know. I'm just going, kind of putting data in my database by myself here. And be honest, what could be better than looking at Spitfire pictures while your silver is drying and hoping that it's the last coat of silver? I'm not sure. We'll know in the morning when we see how it dries up. I never try to rush it. The one thing you can't do with the silver is rush it. Ah, there's Joe's favorite rudder, favorite paint color. I am really seriously considering this color blue. But I still like the G-Fire, and I never know. To be honest, I'm only kidding myself thinking that I know. It'll be the day before I actually go to paint it before I really know. There's another one of those rudders, clip wing version. Look at the spinner paint job too. And see these chains now? I mean, this is, I'm not sure if this is Duxford, obviously I can't tell, but they always have these chains up. But when they see that you're really interested in this stuff, they let you go back there and look at it. They just want to, I think these are only there to keep the kids out. But we got to actually go fondle quite a few of them, and thanks to Elliot Scott for making that possible. And both of the trips we were on. And we actually got to see one fly over his shop. Totally unrehearsed, and you just can't make that up. It's kind of a moment I'll never forget. And I know there's a whole world of people that don't care about Spitfires. They just as soon melt them down and make tuna cans or something, or just like there's a whole bunch of people don't even care about aviation. But I think, boy, what a shame that they're missing. They're missing a lot of the fun. Look at that prop. Oh, that is just unbelievable. To me, that's a thing of beauty. In a class with a Ducati and a Ferrari and Testarossa and, I don't know, steam engines, big boy steam engines. It's just a part of the life that we've all been lucky enough to share. Anyway, that is just unbelievable. Spitfires, Testarossas, Novantas, and of course the end of the Christmas cookies. Rich, from Rich Wallbridge, thank you so much for sharing that. And everybody that's sharing this stuff. We got a nice little thing going here. This is unusual for this time of year. We've got bright sun and winds blowing like a hurricane out there. But not going to affect our day. Oh, our pond cover blew down again. You know, the wind's just blowing everything down. Cover blew off the grill. Good day to be inside working on Spitfires. Now, I very carefully tried to engineer up a couple of things today that I'm not sure if we're going to get them all done. I looked over some of my tail pieces, and they're very, very tiny little parts that are going to need some, just, I call it a touch-up, just a touch-up, maybe not another coat of silver. For some reason, the stab still looks dry, and I don't know if it's because I somehow left out one coat, but as I go by, I like to evaluate each part individually, of course. I just want to make sure I have this exactly right. But we've been doing enough sanding on silver, and these are just going to be redundant things for right now. So what I thought I'd do, and I'm kind of excited about it, I got some really nice, I think it's really good footage, something that'll really make you crazy. And these come from, actually my son gave me these DVDs for Christmas. I find them, I've just been pulling stuff off of them like crazy. There's all kind of neat stuff, especially about British planes, and of course we have more. This is something, and I'm not going to spoil a surprise, this is something I think you're going to truly enjoy. Anyway, and while we're watching this, I'll sand out the next coat of silver, touch it up if it has to be, use that sunny day that we seem to have out there. I'm not sure we really do have it. You really never know until you go outside to paint and then the wind blows the paint gun out of your hand or something. And I wanted to get to a point this week where I could start working on a wing. But you know, in the case of having all these shop projects, and there's going to be another project we're going to start very soon. We're doing another run of tuned pipes, which eats up a big part of the day. But here's the bottom line. I've tried to maximize the use of the time that's available. And of course we still have an hour or sometimes 2 hours of answering email and exchanging pictures and things that we really truly do enjoy. So, but the crunch, I don't want to ever do modeling and treat it like it's a job. I want to treat it like every minute that I have is something special. And in this case, hey, check this DVD out. This is something I think is special. It's something I think you'll enjoy. And by the way, they are making a movie about the Dam Busters. I've seen this several places. They're reissuing the movie about the Dam Busters, and thankfully they still have one of the Lancasters flying. I think you'll enjoy looking at this video. Enjoy it. And we'll get back to this when it's time to spray some more silver. I have a half an hour or so to work on sanding that out. Now when my son bought that DVD that you just saw, I'm sure he wasn't really aware of how much I enjoy this stuff. But now I've got to use the macro lens, and a lot of times the macro lens on this camera is not as good as I would like it to be, but you know, but that's the case. But I wanted to try to show with a real close-up what some of the little errors, and we've sanded this 3 or 4 times already, but as I look at it, there's a couple of tricks. I always look at it under fluorescent light. Number one, if you look at this out in the sunlight, you're not going to see a lot of this stuff. Now, and you know what? There's a reality here. Even the people that judge the Nats don't see a lot of these mistakes. They don't have time to find them. But you know what? There's a reality. The gods see everywhere. I see them. And so, and when people come over my house and the plane is up on the workbench here, I would like it to be perfection or as close to that as I can get. I want to get the macro lens on the camera and try to show some of these, what I call bad spots, that I still, even after all this time, I'm still very fussy how I want to address these. Now here's one of the elevators that I think, well, we're ready to go on this one. This one we can put away. But what I carefully do is I look about the whole, well, I was wrong. Right up here we just need a little spray of silver. But I don't need to resand the whole elevator here. Now it's funny, and right here, because what happens is I'm holding it here. Then when I hold it here, what happens is I don't get enough material there. So now what I'll do is I'll hold it at the bottom and just spray this up here. Maybe just hit it with a hit of sandpaper there just to get it ready. But this part, as far as I can tell now, this is pretty much ready, and I'm happy with it. This would be ready to move on to the next step. And it's my own personal feeling. I like to finish one part before I move on to the next whenever possible. I don't like to have 12, 15 different things going on, because the rest of my life I have a lot of things going on. So in modeling, it's the one time I get away from extreme multitasking and I can kind of relax a little bit. If you call this relaxing, I don't know. Now as I look over the stab, I don't care about the part that's going to be inside the fuselage. If it's there's a little roughness up there, that's not bothering me right now. What I'm looking for is that perfect leading edge. And I'm looking, as I look at this part, I can tell one other thing. See, I can see the seam coming through, and I have a sad feeling that probably the reality here is that seam is going to show through no matter what I do. But here's the bad spot that I worked on. This is where I had an ugly, let's get this on the camera, an ugly fingerprint or something here. And it's still not right, but you know what? The easiest thing in this case, because I want to sand out the seam and I want to sand this out, well, and this side is dry. So this is a candidate for why fool around? I may as well just sand the whole part out. Again, I'll do this off camera because this is really getting, and I can imagine how bored you are watching this. Imagine how bored I am doing it. But boy, that end result, it's, I don't have to say it. Most people know that, or they wouldn't be watching these DVDs if they didn't care. Now as I get these up close, I don't know if this is going to come through. If you can see, right here is a spot, and I mean these are spots. This is a part that I worked on before. It really needed, and I don't know how I skipped over this, and what I probably did is it's probably just a piece of wood that each time I do it is swelling a lot more than the other piece. I've got spots up here, and I'm not sure if you can see them, one there, one there. Most people, in fact I've done it, would just leave this and just put an extra coat of camo or whatever's going to go on this plane, and that would never give them, they'd never lose a minute of sleep. But you know what? I always picture that, why I liked having that Ferrari movie that from the factory. When you make the decision that you're going all the way, you're not going to compromise. And part of that decision is that, and I remember them interviewing one of the people that worked at Ducati, and he said, we build a Ducati as if time didn't exist. If it needs an extra hour to grind a file of Bondo or paint or chrome or whatever they do, they're not going to skimp. It's going to be as if time didn't matter. Well, I've tried to put that into my modeling, and maybe to a certain degree I've been successful. Doesn't matter. And in essence, here's the beautiful thing, and I always try to tell other people this. It doesn't matter if the friends in your club are not impressed, and it doesn't matter if other people, and in my case, or when my mom was alive, I'd show her a plane and she'd say, that's nice, what are we having for lunch? It doesn't matter. You have to be impressed. And in my case, when I'm working alongside with Joe like this, I want Joe to be impressed too. I want Joe to know that I put my heart and soul into this. And if a couple other people, or 10 other people, or one or none, come along for the ride, it looks like Gerald Champ is pretty inspired right now. It looks like Rich Walbridge is pretty inspired. It looks like Ramo Bark's pretty inspired. Well, I don't know who's inspired and who isn't, but I know if I could get this information across to them, wow, I know I've been able to do it with Dave Midgley. I know I've been able to do it with other people, Kent Tyser, that have gone on to build a lot of beautiful planes that weren't overweight. So I always feel this, the sanding of the silver, is the one single thing that determines if the plane is going to be absolutely drop dead gorgeous or if it's just going to be another pretty face. Now here's an example. We knew this was a dry spot and it still is. This is going to need more material. Right up here, and you can see a dry spot. Now can you imagine, and I'll make sure I'm not being casual about this. Can you imagine in the beginning when I started doing this, and I had to kind of invent a lot of this stuff because I didn't have somebody looking over my shoulder. I mean, I had Harold Price who used to show me a lot, but this was part of it that I had to come up with on my own. And then I found out other people were doing it, but they never shared it. They never told you. Ay. But how much easier it would have been for me. I would have been 10 years ahead of the game, or 20 maybe. But anyway, there's a little area here that I want to sand out. So what it looks like is a lot of these parts, the easiest of all things is just to go over the parts again. We have a nice day for spraying. I'm not going to try to take the shortcut out. I'm going to use that saying that I like so much. It's as if time didn't matter. And after looking at these, they looked real good while they were drying. But the next day when I got them up under the fluorescent light, not the same. And believe me, you put something under incandescent light, you don't see this. Put it out in sunlight, you don't see anything. My car looks good under sunlight. If you put a part right under fluorescent light, and I use the example of, we were looking at one time, I had Ski Dombrowski's in my other shop, Ski Dombrowski's Lace Maker, which I considered the single best plane ever built. And I said, Billy Suarez and I took the plane down to my cellar and I put the fluorescent lights on. I said, we'll find a mistake in this. We were all excited. We were going to stick it to Ski a little bit, and we looked at his plane and I couldn't find a mistake. I could not find a mistake. And I realized this was a 20-point plane, and it wasn't a 20-point plane by random or because somebody bought the judges a pina colada. This was a 20-point plane, and it always inspired me that when I take my plane somewhere, I want somebody to look at it, and I want them not to be able to find a mistake. And it served me well over the years. So I'm going to get busy sanding this out. I got a nice day I can take advantage of, maybe get another coat of silver on this today, and I'll be happy that it's the slow road, but it's the road that's going to get me what I hope Joe also is going to enjoy the most, is having a plane that it's very hard to find mistakes in. You know what I always think too? Thank God they have all that great footage of World War II. Boy, if we didn't have that, what a loss that would be. Anyway, I got to look for this, and again, it's this bad spot, and you can see how quick it's come right through as soon as you hit it with sandpaper. Now, because I'm hoping this may or may not be one of the last coats, I'm going to try to just put on just the lightest coat possible, except in this one area, except on the edges. Amazing at that one area, and it you know, it never is on the bottom. You don't even look on the bottom. It's always going to be on the top. Oh, what a sunny day. Gee, it's unbelievable out here. Totally unbelievable. Now, what I wanted to do is go back, wait here a minute or so, and just basically go back over that spot, and you can see it's coming up. Oh, I just never, and I may have to just go over that spot alone 3 or 4 times without re-sanding the part. But the objective is, and if you think about this, if you were doing this for the first time and you didn't know that it's perfectly normal to have all these botched edges and everything, or you thought, oh, that only happened to me, it never happened to anybody else, then that video wouldn't be of much value. Lancaster. Oh, I hope they make that movie, The Dam Busters. Oh, that is one of my favorite movies. This piece still has 2 or 3 bad areas. But, you know, if you make the commitment, you're not going to quit until that part is really nice. We get some more paint on this, but now the sun is getting bright, baby. Now you can see it. And we use this to our advantage. You can see everything now. Well, it's really been a long time coming. And I'm sure it's been boring to watch, but I think we're closing in on having parts that we're going to ultimately be happy with. Now this is the elevator that's really in bad shape. I'm going to try to give this a relatively heavy coat. I have a feeling this is going to need more than one more coat, and I really don't know if this is just a really crappy piece of wood or if I dropped the ball somewhere in this. No idea. Don't need to know, as long as you know how to fix it. It's not important. Oh, I got to run out there. I'm trying to put it on too heavy, but it's going to be sanded anyway, so really no big deal. Now, even as the sun sets in the west here, there's still a couple of those flaws. I just think they're going to take a little more, it's going to take one more coat, but I don't care, and I'm really committed to this now. So we'll let it dry overnight, see what we have tomorrow, and then I'm assuming a day or 2 from now we're going to be starting to work on the wing. But I want that silver perfect first. Yes, that silver's drying, and yes, we have some more photos from Rich Walbridge today, and boy, as he knows, one of my favorite paint jobs, of course. Absolutely. The silver and red. And of course, with the 5-bladed prop spinning. Oh. Now, I don't really know. I've seen this picture before, but I don't know if this has some significance? The last of this production run or what? Maybe we could find out some more information about that, but that's Joe's favorite color right there with the big white spinner. I know a lot of people don't realize there really were pink Spitfires. And I'm not sure the significance. I'm sure it had something to do with trying to make them invisible, or there's the pointy rudder, in fact. But we did have in our previous Spitfire books several different pink ones. Yeah, this will work for me. That's one of the paint jobs I really do like, the silver and red. It really is nice looking. And this one with the big red spinner, of course. Anyway, there's not many things more fun to do than eat pizza or look at Spitfire pictures while your silver's drying. Here's one of the ones we've seen before, the trainer ones with the double canopy, flying with the canopy open. He's got the correct rudder. In fact, 2 out of 3 of them do. Windy and Karen. Look at this WKW, Windy and Karen. Awesome photos. Boy, you just never get sick of looking at these guys. What I like about it too is each Spitfire is like a child. It's unique. It's got a personality. Most, if not all, have some kind of history that's very interesting. And you never see 2 exactly the same. And it's almost like there's Joe's Seafire. In fact, there is Joe's Seafire. There's Joe in the cockpit. What am I talking about? We get a nice look at the ogive here and all the little hatches and vents and Zeus fittings and those exhausts. The bulletproof glass, the gun sight is right in that bulletproof glass area. Now you may be thinking, yes, it's hard to paint after dark. It certainly is. But we need to get just a little more paint on this stab. We still have a couple of spots that I'm not happy with. And it's just light enough that I can paint out here. And one of the things bothers me is that joint in the wood. I was hoping that, well, we're hoping for a lot of things here, but anyway. Painting at night, so much fun. Really, the neat thing about silver, you can just put it on, sand it off, put it on, sand it off. There's no end to how many times you can do it, as long as you sand it off. And we are not going to compromise. Oh, as long as my silver shines, I'll never go hungry again. Anyway, when I look at Rich Walbridge's those Spitfire photos, I always get inspired for just a little more excellence. And if you think we work right to the last minute, you're right. As the sun not only sets, it's already set. We tried to take advantage of this good weather today. Today we finally reached that point in time, that magic time when it looks like, well, you never really can tell if we're going to find something, but I wanted to show these parts up close because all the time, all the patience we put into them, I think is finally paying off here in the fact that these are as light as they should be. They're actually a little bit lighter than the built-up tail that we made for the Testarossa. They're certainly straight, they're certainly rigid, and in this case, these are about as flawless as I can make them. And what this is going to allow me to do now is take what I have now, put it aside to dry for, well, we'll be working on a wing for a couple of weeks, get it drying. See, I don't like to start 2, 3, 4 things at once. And we are now in the driver's seat here. Now, when it comes time to sand out the wing and flaps, what's going to happen is that's going to be another entity. So, but if I had the flaps and this all done to do at the same time, what would actually happen is I'd be really getting bored with sanding silver. So it's like having a big mountain to climb. We've climbed up to the first level. The wing will be another level, fuselage another level. But I really think the time I spent on these, and I've really looked at these close, for even the tiniest dry spot, and remember, the key is not that you don't have a dry spot, is that it's light and you don't have a dry spot. Because anybody can just dip this in a bucket of automotive paint and it'll be shiny, but the problem is it's not going to be light. And we're looking to keep this like this to be. The Novanta was a 90 ship that was just a hair over 60 ounces. This is a bigger plane. The wing is bigger, the body's bigger, so I'm thinking 65 would be ultralight, 70 would be what it should be, and 75, I don't know. Then I think we're getting into that area that I don't really know about. But I really have, when I came down here this morning and I looked at the pieces and how they had dried up, worth every minute. Now this is the time I really wanted to pass this tip on, because this is something that I really have taken full advantage of. I kind of kept track of all of the steps to doing the wing. And of course, the easy way to do this is, if you've done a wing in the past, just write down how you did it. And if you ran into something that you could do easier, obviously we want to swap this around. There are a few things I want to do different on this wing than I did on Joe's wing, because I've figured out little steps that'll just make it a little bit easier, and I'm going to try, obviously include those in on the video, but I have the wing broken down into steps. And the most important thing here is that if I find a little shortcut, I can just rearrange my list. In fact, I've done that on the bottom several times already. But this is the part, and if again, it's that thing of if you use time efficiently, you always have a little bit left over. When you waste time, it seems like you never have enough, and everybody really has the same amount of time. Now, I've taken advantage on this project of getting up a little bit early, staying up a little bit late, splitting sessions up, so sometimes I get to work on it 2 or 3 different times, maybe even 4 times, where in between other things that I'm doing. And an example, today I have to take the Christmas tree down, put all the Christmas tree decorations away. Well, I came down to look at the silver thinking maybe I'll need another coat of silver, in which case I would have done that first. But the silver we're real happy with. So now I want to just reorient my list. I want to make any changes to this, and then I want to pull a wing down. And I know the first step on the wing is to get all that tape residue off, because that wing has been sitting up in a Spitfire bedroom for, well, probably 6, 8 months. I don't even know. But I know that was the first thing I had to do to Joe's wing, and it's the first thing I'm going to have to do to this wing, is clean off all that tape residue. Now, but we're in a period of time here that the weather is a little bit warmer than normal, and we're able to paint. So if I had something else, see, now I'm a little bit ahead. Got the rudder painted, got that tail section, got the stab elevator. So I really don't even care about that weather thing. But if I was looking to get another coat of silver on, I'd want to get that done today. It's always, whenever there's a decision, do I want to carve balsa wood or put paint on, I always try to do the paint first. So it's drying, and then even then that, in the second session of the day or the third session or the end of the day, that paint is dry. Anyway, just some little tips I think help, and they help you use time efficiently. And when you use time efficiently, what you find out is you can either build more models, or you can build the same amount of models and put more detail. In this case, one of the things we're going to do on this model is I'm allowing probably 2-3 weeks to do cockpit detail, because I really want to make that something that's special about this model. But everybody picks something that they really are happy doing. I know Gerald's grinding away on that P-47. Other people are building, I know of more than one person building what I call a super ARF, an ARF with all the updates and, well, less, for instance. And other people that, everybody's got some private little goal they want, and all the steps I lay out on these DVDs are basically to inspire you so you want to do higher level work, or fill in the gaps in your knowledge, like with these Spitfire pictures and videos and how the Spitfire evolved, or some of the Blenheim. A lot of people don't even know what a Blenheim is. If you say that, they think it's you know, they don't even know that that's a World War II bomber. But anyway, and these things, like, we pretty all much know about the B-17, but boy, the stuff with the Lancaster I thought was fantastic. Anyway, next step on this is need to go get the wing and start grinding off all of that tape residue. Well, I got today's email. Obviously some more pictures from Rich Walbridge, and Joe's going to love that one on the bottom. Before I run up and get that Spitfire wing out of the attic, but it's coming down. It's time to get the Spitfire wing. That silver looks just as nice as it can be. I've reorganized my list. Now just a little bit of inspiration, another cup of Javalia, and I'll be ready to go to the RAF. We got a pointy rudder on the top one. I like that rudder much better than the one on the lower one. But obviously in the eye of the beholder. Now, I often think how cool would this be if this was Joe and I sitting here checking out all the props, making sure there's plenty of air in the tires. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, here's Joe's blue guy. Oh, look at that power plant. Now see, this is one of the ones only has Invasion stripes on the bottom. Look, check that out. And that is prototypical too. And this is one of the ones that becomes a candidate for my paint job. Oh me, oh my. I even like how they have red painted around the cockpit. That is one advantage to doing a red and silver like this. You've already got the silver on the plane, and basically there's probably some weight saving, but I'd probably think about using B25 silver on this if I did the silver and red one. But that's the nice part about doing these, is we just get endless amounts of time to just dream about the possibilities. I'm not sure this is the correct way to add tail weight to a Spitfire. I'm not sure about that. I've always thought the black spinner looked cool. In fact, if you look at a lot of the video of the Typhoons, one of the choices was to have a black spinner, and I always thought that was the coolest. That went with the camo job. There's one with the wide rudder. Look at, here's a detail some people overlook. Look at the doors on the back of the radiators. Wide open. When they're taxiing to keep the engine from overheating, they want to get air passing through there. Oh yeah, if you don't like, if you were to be walking in this hangar, which obviously it is somewhere in England, and you were to see the front of this plane and not have your blood just go up a couple of centimeters in blood pressure, I don't know. I don't know about that. This is one of the things really made my blood boil, the look of the big spinner with the 5-bladed prop. Now this has the look of a Gate Guardian, in other words, one that isn't in flyable condition. See the way they've got it held down with ropes and stuff? I don't know what that's all about. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Really can't tell. Really can't tell it if they've got it in flyable condition, but even having a Gate Guardian, early model rudder. Now here's one that really lets you see the O-drive, that big flat area right behind the spinner. That's even worth a second look here. And there's apparently a little scoop that goes up there, little blister. If you were doing it, probably more appropriate if you're doing a scale model than a stunt ship. And that's where it's been for quite a while here. Keeping his friends company here. But it's time. It's been a long time coming. And once that wing, oh, that 5-bladed prop, once that wing is all dope and tissue, oh my God. Now, Joe, always, whenever we have a visit here, I don't think we've ever not talked about, and actually he's already done it, I haven't, taking down the models and having some nostalgic days. Now, see, these models still have the motors in them. Probably the tanks are rusty. They have metal tanks in them. Probably have to get a new gas tank, but other than that, I've never heard of, and I've had, there's after run oil in the engines, and they're big Jim 60s, so I've never heard of any of these going bad. Now, one of the things I wanted to look at up here, I wanted to make a decision. Here's the decision. This is the wider spaced gear on the first spit. And when I did the Seafire, I put the gear closer together a little, and it's not totally prototypical, just a little bit more. Now the problem is, or it's going to be, when I reorganized everything on my list of things to do, the first thing I want to do, because the lead outs won't be in the way and the bell crank and everything, I wanted to put the gear blocks in first and make the doors. And I can still put them, I can use the wires on the other side and make the gear a little bit closer together as these are, and make it maybe just a little more prototypical. In other words, that's what I'm going to think about in the next day or so. How do I want to do that? Or do I want to just put the option of having the blocks go in with the landing gear on both sides? Again, that's another possibility. But it's something I need to think about, something I need to make a decision. But it'll be real easy to make this decision now. Time to take the wing down to the shop. The first step on our list is we have to get all that tape off, and believe me, that's going to be a couple hours of getting that goop off. And Karen said she had some stuff called Gooby Gone to get that off. But it's been a long time we've waited for this day, because I wanted to see, the whole idea was to get Joe his wing in silver, get his wing in a body so he could get moving on that. And then I would, and hopefully be able to catch up, but even if I don't, doesn't really matter here. But when I'm up in this room, I got to tell you, and John Cafaro is going to be here next week for a little visit for John DeTavio's 85th birthday party. John's going to be flying in from Michigan. We're going to have a Dave Midgley and Sharon are coming down. We're going to go see Wicked over in Manhattan and maybe go down to Ground Zero. I don't know, but I thought I'd spend some time here today just dreaming about, and I always like to do this. I always say dreaming is free. Thinking about the day that wing has all the dope finish on it, and it's really, that day hopefully is coming. And boy, what a treasure. When I started collecting these photos years ago of all of these Walker fly-offs, right now they are priceless. They are a priceless thing, having these in my house. And all the memorabilia up in this room, it just, every time I'm up here, it's like sharing, I don't know, a little trip back in time. It's almost like having a little time capsule. Time to start working on that wing. I can't wait to get down there. It's good to have him home. It's just, he knows he's in his home right now. And this is where he's going to be for, well, next couple of months while we're doing all the work. But this first step, and I know this is an annoying step, everywhere this tape is on here, it's been sitting here for so long. And I had this, when I did Joe's wing, this stuff leaves a residue that you can feel with your fingers. And I want to be very careful as step one to get that off. I mean, Joe has put an incredible amount of time in these wings, and I don't want to have any gouges or dents or anything. So I'm going to pull that apart. That'll be, well, the next step. Get all that Gooby Gone off of there. Karen thought she had some, but she doesn't. You may think I'm kidding about this. Karen thought she had this stuff called Gooby-Gon. We didn't have any. She thought she had it. And I don't know what the real answer is here. I had a little bit of M600 left. Not enough to go wet sanding out a plane, but I know it cut it on Joe's, but it's not really cutting it on this. And I'm almost to the point I'm getting frustrated that, well, you can feel it too. In the future, lesson 1. Boy, if there ever was a lesson to be learned, I'm gonna take that tape off immediately and just lay the parts on the floor. Tape that sits for an extended period of time. Oh man, it ruins your whole day. Anyway, my fault. Once again, lessons to learn, and when you learn them the hard way, you always learn them best. But anyway, from making up this, I guess what shall we call it? The I don't even know what we should call it. Our hit list, our project list. I realized that one of the things I want to do, and I want to do it right away, is get the gear blocks in as step 1. And I'm not going to have enough time to do it today, and I don't want to start it and be half through it, because again, we got a lot of stuff going on here. Boy, this stuff is tenacious. I'm telling you, it's unbelievable. I remember as a kid going to the Howe Caverns and somebody put a bumper sticker on our car. And my mother said, get that bumper sticker off. And I mean, you could, my fingernails were bleeding by the time I got it off. Anyway, that tape it's tenacious. And I'm gonna spend, I don't wanna, see, even up here there's some. Boy, is that a hard lesson to learn. Wow. And you know what? And I'm even thinking, how smart can I possibly be? When I did Joe's wing and I saw what a problem it is, I should have done this wing too. Because the longer you leave it on, the worse it is. Every time. It's funny, and I even tried sanding it off. There's no way to sand it off. It just gums up and chews up the wood. I'm just gonna have to tough this out. This is the kind of thing. Sometimes you only get one good lesson off a video. This is a good one. Lose the tape. Get the tape off as soon as possible. What a great lesson that is. Anyway, even our tip weight box has a goop on it. Now, you might be thinking, now it amazingly took a lot longer than I thought to clean that wing up, but we are ready to start. Actually, tomorrow morning we're going to try to get a nice early start on gear blocks. It's one of the things. I'm going to change the sequence again of a few things here, but getting it all prepped up. We are now really nice and clean. The wing is down in the shop where it belongs, and tomorrow morning after coffee, we're going to be ready to start installing those gear blocks. Now this morning we wake up to rain, so we know we're not going to, well, we really don't have to do any more painting. At least we'll see how that silver dries up when it's a week old, or say a couple of days. But in the meantime, I really wanted to start on that wing. I really wanted to get going early this morning too. And I'm up with the, well, the birds aren't even here yet. Now with all the stuff going on here, and we're planning for John DeTavio's party, Midgley and Sharon are coming down. John Cafaro is going to be with us. We got a lot of loose ends going on there. So while we try to plan for that, I thought today, if nothing else, I can knuckle down and get these gear blocks in. I wanted to see, and again, the choice was I can make them like the first Spitfire, they were relatively wide, or like the Seafire, a little bit narrower. I think I'm going to make them on the narrow side, try to make them a little more scale. But there's a reason these blocks here, and maybe I should do a storyboard about this, why this is so important. I thought about re-engineering these blocks even, and I thought, nah, maybe not. And let me explain why, because I had all last night that I really put some serious thought into this. Now here's the bottom line. If this were, I'm just going to exaggerate this. If this were a scale model, we'd really try to get the gear in their scale location, which probably would be real close to the fuselage. And on a real Spitfire, they cant out just a little bit, if you've ever noticed. Well, here's the problem with this. When you go to put the gear blocks in this close to the middle of the wing, if you get them too close, you're inducing a real stress riser right in the middle of the wing, because this big hole is a big hole in the wing, and I've never been comfortable with that. So what I thought was, the other choice on the original Spitfires, we had them way out here, and they were kind of straight. Well, I'm not sure this drawing is showing what I want to show, but now this whole middle piece is an uninterrupted piece of sheeting and fiberglass, so you've built some strength in here. Keep in mind, the worst place, and let's just make this a little bit easier to understand. If you had a wing, the worst place to drill a hole is right in the middle. That wants to make it stress right down the middle. Now, when you add in the fact that we have dihedral, it's even worse. This gets worse. So where these gear blocks are is a critical thing. This is something that I didn't want to get too, again, that old saying of getting too cute. So I didn't want to get too cute about this. I wanted to lay this out in such a way that I'm not putting this big stress riser right in the middle of the wing. So I came up with a compromise, and the compromise is the way Joe laid out the blocks. Let's just go up here. He laid them out in a position where they're going to, on the original, on his model, on his wing, they're going to be out here. But I can have the wires come out on this side of the block and not change anything. The block will be in the same spot, and when I measured that out, it gives me pretty much the, well, what I'm really looking for is something like the Seafire, where the gear are just a little bit closer together, but not scale. And again, this is always the compromise, is to try to make something that looks scale, and maybe when they're this close together, we can cant them out just a little bit, but not that they're gonna take away from the performance of the plane. Now, I've thought about this long and hard. I didn't want to go any further in than we have with Joe's blocks. I didn't want to try, I didn't even want to try to make this scale, because I know I'm going to run into a problem. But I thought I could get it a little more scale, and then I could cant those landing gear wires out, and it would look about as realistic as, well, as I'm hoping it's going to look. Now, this is one of the things that I thank Rich Walbridge for contributing to the program. All of the pictures. This is one of the magazine photos, and you can see just how close together. One of the defining features of the Spitfire is that the gear are relatively close together, because remember, the Spitfire was made to take off out of grass fields. Also, that the wheels are on the outside, not on the inside, the way the landing gear was designed in. So that's one of our, well, in other words, we couldn't make like a Mustang gear where the wheels are on the inside, although that probably would look more like what a typical stunt ship would look like. But the other advantage is this allows us to make, and I don't know if we're going to be able to do it, some real scale wheel hubs. Now, because I have a lathe and I have, our molding technology has gone, well, it's gotten a lot better. I may be able to make some real scale looking wheels. Again, that's all in the future. But it's going to all start with having these gear relatively close together, but I'm not going to try to make them scale. Mine will be out. Mine will be on the opposite side of the block, and believe me, that was one of the decisions. It took me a long time before I was comfortable with that decision. But of course, we're going to see how the plane takeoffs, lands, and how it looks in the air more than anything else, especially in inverted flight with the big gear sticking up. Now, just to make an example of, because this is something that a lot of people really, I'm not sure, you know, missed the point or whatever. I'm not sure I didn't miss the point years ago, or maybe I'm missing it now. When you do a scale model and you're trying to make it scale, there's defining features. In this case, it's a P40. If you somehow make this like a Nobler and lose this, this is a defining feature. The way the landing gear mount in a P40, again, like Don Herdman's P40, a defining feature. If you just go put the gear out on the outside and face the wheels in, you've kind of lost one of the defining, like what Dave Downey calls the defining features. Another thing on a P40, the scoop. When you try to just, these are the little things that if you're really making a P40, you've got to try to incorporate them in somehow. But in our case, the problem is some of the things don't lend themselves well to a real maximum performance world-class stunt ship. Now, if you're doing a P-51 like John Cafaro is, the gear are in a perfect position for a stunt ship. But in the case of a Spitfire, we have to make this compromise. And it's this, I hope, and I hope Joe is satisfied. I know he is, because he likes the gear spread out just a little bit more. And that the plane definitely lands and takes off a little bit nicer with the gear spread out. But I'm trying to push this envelope, and I'm just going to use the other side of the block to make this what I think is going to be hopefully a compromise where I get the best of all possible worlds. So as I'm looking at and just trying to totally confirm my decision here, this landing gear location may or may not be the ultimate, but I'm going to really give this a little bit more of a shot at making it scale. And hey, if you don't push the envelope, I don't know what we're even building this for then. But anyway, another thing I noticed, and it's sad, is I didn't notice we're near the end of this tape. I don't want to start these gear blocks and have them click off into another tape. So I'm just going to finish off this tape at this point with this little dissertation. There's another point of this that when it comes time to making the wheels, we're going to try to do something a little special there. I've done that with the B-25, the A-26. I went and made these really super light, hopefully more scale-like wheels. This is going to give me an opportunity with the gear closer in to really do something like that when we get to that point in the project. But here it is early in the day, and I didn't realize we're at the end of the tape. So, hey, all I can say is think about the landing gear on your next plane. And if you're building a straight line plane, you can put them anywhere you want. But when it comes time to doing the semi-scale stuff, everything seems to be a compromise. Now, I really hope you're enjoying, as this model comes to life and progresses, some of these decisions we have to make, some of the things that they're just difficult to envision right in the beginning of a project, but they evolve as it goes on. This landing gear situation is one of them. And in this case, I think we've made good decisions, but I'm going to do this whole landing gear block on the next DVD. So we hope we'll see you on that tape, and please share them with everybody, and enjoy every minute of the time you get to spend modeling. It's really special time in my life. I hope it's special time in your life too. And we're looking forward to having a lot of company in the next week or so.